The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, this is Rich Latta here. We are across the street from MSG.
NY, baby. New York City, Madison Square Garden. Hey, y'all boy, come on. Come on.
Man. Jeremy Donovan here from Keepin It Strong Style and Social Suplex. We're here with one half of the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions.
Hey, one half of Gorillas of Destiny, but one whole of Tama motherfucking Tonga. Realest of the realest. Hey, ain't nobody realer than Gorilla.
John Moxley. Let's get some security out here.
What do we have here?
Oh! Moxley blindsided. Whoa! Oh my God! That's KENTA!
Yes, it is.
KENTA!
What the hell is he doing here?
KENTA! Oh, go to sleep on Moxley! KENTA's the man with the briefcase. He's the man with the rights to challenge John Moxley for his IWGP U.S. Heavyweight Championship.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the Forbidden Door, previewing New Beginning in Hiroshima, answering your questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving us a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. Visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, man, we got a lot to talk about today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, guys, if you just as you just heard, we are brought to you by the NJPW EXT browser extension. Listen, there's a lot of, to do about, these new announcements New Japan made, with Roku and yada, yada. Fuck all that. There's some changes that need to have been made. This company is actively spending time, money, and resources to get Harold May edited out of the actual broadcast. Like anyone gives a fuck about that. And instead, they need to be paying Danny to implement all the changes that he's made to better the product and service. If you guys are listening to the show and you do not use NJPW EXT extension, you are idiots, because we only put our name on services and brands that are of value. Do yourself a favor. It is free. Use that, because, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there like, I can't wait for Roku this week. There's an extension.
Yeah, the extension is great, and, we're featured up there as well, Keeping It Strong Style, so you can, browse through NJPW World while catching up on Keeping It Strong Style. You forgot what the recommended match of the week is? No problem. Just go back, listen to the episode while you're on the extension, find the recommended match of the week on New Japan World. Heck, create your own playlist of the recommended matches, share it out, and
shared viewing parties, bro. Like, come on. And you know what? That's another reason that it's a quality product, because they promote us every week on their, on the timeline when you go onto the browser extension. So you're listening to us. If you're listening to us, you're not an idiot, and Danny's not an idiot. So do yourself a favor. This will enrich your pro wrestling watching experience. Jeremy, it is day 20 since Joe Biden got into office. And I want to know, where the fuck is my money? Okay?
I think a lot of people are asking where the money's at.
There's been a short squeeze since then. Tom Brady won another ring. I mean, he doesn't have as many championships as Ric Flair, but he's got a lot. He definitely doesn't have as many as Inoki either. But they're doing a trial against Donald Trump right now. But in all that time, 20 days, a lot of shit's gone down, and I still haven't got paid. What the fuck is up?
I don't know, man.
This man owes me $2K. $2K. I didn't say $14,000. I said $2,000.
2K.
2K. 2K.
Want that Biden 2K?
I thought it was Biden and Kamala are here to save the day. What the fuck?
Yeah, man, they're tripping on the that stimmy that 2,000 that we're all supposed to be getting, but
yeah, bro, they're not gonna get no simpy from me for not giving me no stimmy. What the fuck? No stimmy, no simpy.
Maybe a heel turn from them here,
bro. Bro, every election is a heel versus. We don't got to go into all that. I mean, shit's at work.
Oh man. But one thing we do need to go into, young boy, is the Forbidden Door. So last week...
We don't got to get into the Forbidden Door. We could talk about it. I'm not walking through this Forbidden Door. No, I'm just playing. Let's talk about it. It's the big news.
Yeah, it's the big news. Normally this might be something we save for the news section, but I just felt like this was too big of a story, too hot. This is literally what the whole wrestling world is talking about, whether you are pro Forbidden Door, whether you are, anti Forbidden Door, whether you're kind of in the middle.
Switzerland.
You kind of have your hand like in and out of the Forbidden Door. Your hand's on the knob, but you're not sure if you're quite ready to turn, the Forbidden Door open yet.
Door's on the knob.
So the Forbidden Door. So we had Moxley appearing on NJPW Strong a couple weeks ago, laying out KENTA and setting up the match for New Beginning in USA. And we've seen Moxley on New Japan before, so I mean that was a big deal, him being there. But I think it's even more bigger deal we saw last Wednesday, TNT AEW Dynamite, at the end of that awesome main event where Kenny and the Good Brothers defeated Pac, Phoenix, and Moxley. We had KENTA making his AEW debut, attacking Jon Moxley, opening the Forbidden Door, seeing this, seeing something we never thought we would see, a New Japan contracted wrestler appearing on Tony Khan's TV, on TNT, on Wednesday night.
Well, that already happened. Hiroshi Tanahashi was the first.
Well, I mean, like live in the building, in the ring.
Oh, Jon Moxley had a contract and he was working for them too. What else you got?
I mean,
I'm just playing.
A non-dueled contracted New Japan wrestler showing up. KENTA laying out Jon Moxley. First of all, what did you think of? What were your reactions when KENTA showed up and laid out Mox?
Oh man, so I was watching this and I gotta tell you the honest truth. I was not paying attention to that match. Very often, like, I don't know, sometimes, like, AEW is great. I watch it. I definitely enjoy it. But some weeks it's just more engrossing to me, and other weeks it's not as much. And so, a match can be really good, but kind of fly, under the radar for me. So that's kind of like what this main event was. I've since gone back and rewatched it on the advice of others. And yeah, the match is awesome. It really was an incredible 6-man, which, it figured to be. But then, once the match ends and there's all the hubbub and to do and yada yada, and then Archer comes out, that's like really great. And then, just laying people out. And then Mox is like the last guy. And then this masked person like knocks him out. And that's like kind of what got my attention. And then when I saw the mask come off, I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I was like, it's Kenta. It's motherfucking Kenta. And like my girlfriend was watching it with me and she was asleep. And she's like, what? What's happening? Like she thought something bad happened. Like she thought like the way I reacted. And then she's like, oh my God. And I was like, go to sleep, go to sleep. Peligro.
Peligro, peligro, brutal.
Brutal. So I couldn't believe it. I really, really, really couldn't believe it. Like, it's just one of those things that I didn't think would happen, to be honest with you. And now that it's like sometimes stuff like this happens, before someone ran like a 4-minute mile? Is that like the like litmus test? The 4-minute mile is like a really fast mile, right?
I mean, I think that's very, very fast, yeah.
Or is it like 7-minute mile? I don't know. Well, anyways, before something happens, everyone thinks it's impossible, and then once it happens, it's like, it's not so unimaginable. And so like now that it's happened, it's like, oh, okay, this actually makes sense given the context of everything that's going on. But, it didn't feel that way, just a week ago when we recorded this show.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. So actually, so it's funny for the main event. So my girlfriend, she's very interested in seeing like how I react to, she knows Kenny Omega's my favorite wrestler. And so she wanted to see how I react in person to like a fresh matchup I hadn't seen before. So we were doing a video chat, and it was it's a very good match, but I wasn't like completely. There's some moves I was marking out for, but I wasn't like going crazy or anything. And then Kenta comes out. I'm just like, oh shit, Kenta! I'm like losing my mind, and she's like, what's the big deal about the purple hair guy showing up? So yeah, trying to explain the whole Bullet Club, AEW, New Japan background story to her has been very interesting. But yeah, similar reaction to you. I was very surprised Kenta showing up. And then we had a lot of posts, stuff that happened on social media. Kenny and Kenta, meeting in the parking lot. Kenny's like, oh, I didn't know Brother Switchblade was sending a guest over. And Kenta letting...
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think that's what he said. I've watched it a few times, but maybe I missed something.
Yeah, it's like at the very beginning of it, because he's kind of running up to the mic, so you might not... It's not coming through clearly, but he's like, yeah, I didn't know Brother Switchblade was sending over, a guest. And then, Kenta let him know very quickly, like, I am not your friend. It's like, I'm here to beat up John Moxley.
Well, because I've watched it with the captions a few times, and I saw Kenny basically be like, like, welcome to America, brother, or whatever, something like that. And then he was like, shut the fuck up. And he's like, I'm not your friend. And like, that was something when this initially popped off, I was watching it and I was like, are they going to fucking Too Sweet? Like, cause that would have been, bro, if they had, it's not even that I wanted them to Too Sweet. Cause it just would have been the craziest shit.
Yeah. Like literally like reuniting the Bullet Club. Like, all right, like there is a Bullet Club USA. Like,
well, I wouldn't have known what it meant. From a kayfabe standpoint, it just would have been bizarre to me. I just would have been like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, are these guys all together? Are they not? What is this mean,
Yeah.
Or maybe Kenta is just part of this new subunit with Kenny and the Good Brothers and, all, faction relations and, company relations be damned. Like, I didn't know but then they didn't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
At least there's a still maintaining some kayfabe, I suppose. But it's really exciting. And then, Mox, again, I don't keep up with AEW like everybody else. But I think recently he cut this promo talking about, like, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, which Bullet Club you're with, blah, blah, blah. All roads in the wrestling world lead through me.
Right.
And I got to think, like, he was throwing us a little bit of a hint even back then because they probably knew that this was happening.
Yeah. And then also, in that same angle, we had Kenny, issuing a challenge to Tony Khan to book him and Kenta versus Archer and Mox for this Wednesday. It's Dynamite, and since Kenta is not contracted, it has to be lights out match. It's going to be falls count anywhere, and so Big Biceps Tony signed the match. It's going to be Kenta and Kenny Omega versus Lance Archer and Jon Moxley. Wednesday night, AEW Dynamite, lights out, falls count anywhere. We have the current IWGP US champ, 2 former IWGP US champions, and then the number 1 contender for the IWGP US championship, all in one match on Dynamite.
Is it a lights out match or a non-sanctioned bout?
I think,
or are those just like synonymous there?
I think in AEW they're synonymous.
Okay, I mean it doesn't make sense that Tony Khan would sign it if they're not sanctioning it. Like that doesn't make sense. But I do kind of applaud them for an attempt to like kind of keep kayfabe. That's cool, but it also doesn't actually make sense if you think about it. It's like he's the owner of the company, so if he signs for it, then it is sanctioned. Like.
Right, I think it might be more for like the record books. So like, if Kenta gets a win, like they're not going to record that win on Kenta, and that's not going to go on Kenny's like tag win record or whatever, and the loss won't go on Moxley and Archer's record or whoever wins or loses. Yeah,
and you know what? I'm cool with that every now and then because we're not an AEW podcast, but think about it for a second. It makes sense. I mean. It actually, because they're trying to push the idea that wins and losses and these records matter. Well, someone might be able to turn around and be like, well, if the match is happening and it's an important match, but it doesn't count for their records, then what does it matter? But I would counter with that and say that it actually makes the importance of records stand out even more so because now you care about it when it does happen. And the fact that it's not happening here is an anomaly. And obviously this match has a lot of stakes involved just based on who's in it, based on, the dream match, essence of what it is. I mean, it is really crazy. And I mean, you've got a lot of New Japan history here with Archer and Kenny Omega and Mox and Mox's history with both of those guys. Plus you throw Kenta into the mix. I mean, it's a pretty historic match. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, this is mind blowing. I think it's going to be a great main event.
And I think one thing that's really mind blowing about it is like they're already doing this, angle involving AEW and Impact with one another pretty heavily. So like that already kind of was the draw of the match. Was like you're getting to see Kenny and the Good Brothers in this, 6-man tag together, like Impact contracted guys in a main event with Kenny Omega. They were just on the pay-per-view for Impact. So like, that's kind of a big deal. And then suddenly like Archer comes out and then all of a sudden like, oh wait, New Japan's in the fucking mix. Like it was like a cash in, bro.
Yeah, man. Like AEW is becoming like the scene in Endgame where, the portals open and people and heroes just keep coming out. Like, all these doors are opening. We're seeing the partnerships with Impact and a lot of the Joshi promotions, Tokyo Joshi Pro that they're going to be using for the women's tournament. NWA with Thunder Rosa, Allison Kay, and some of these other people we've seen. Ricky Starks, how they, Eddie Kingston, a lot of NWA guys coming through. And
and they have a wide variety of different partnerships. I actually reached out to a few people this week to try and like catalog so far what we know for sure that they've like partnered with. And up to now, there have been at least 14 different recorded, either strong or loose partnerships, working relationships, affiliations, things of that nature. You've got Impact, the NWA, AAA, now New Japan Pro Wrestling in some capacity, DDT, Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, OWE, Dragon Gate, Pro Wrestling Wave, Gato Move, Marvelous, GCW, Stardom, and then if you want to throw in the High Spots Network and, the many different independent companies that they've kind of done little things with over, especially in the early days of the company, I mean, that's a lot.
Tony Khan proven to his word that they are willing to work with, everybody and anybody, as long as it makes sense business-wise, they're going to cut a deal.
Now, let's get into what we do and don't know about the nature of this working relationship. So, Jeremy, what is your take on everything?
So my take, as excited as I am for this Forbidden Door, so to speak, being opened.
Someone made a joke this week and said, to do a drinking game, take a shot every time they say the words, FD on the show. If you notice, I haven't used it one time. I will not be using it, but you're getting some people drunk right now. I can tell you that much.
But yeah, here's what I think it is. I think this is clearly all centered around Moxley and KENTA.
Yeah.
They wanted New Japan. They wanted the U.S. title match to happen. Moxley wanted the match to happen. I'm sure the goal was to have the match in Japan, but it just wasn't feasible with the pandemic going on, and to have Moxley take time to travel to Japan to quarantine just for one match and miss several weeks of Dynamite TV. And so with the pandemic, also with Harold May being gone and communication being opened up to both sides, I think that led to, the door being, temporarily open for now to work this Moxley and KENTA angle. And it's like, all right, we will give you Moxley on NJPW Strong. We'll allow Moxley to work a U.S. New Japan show and do that title match as long as we get Moxley, or as long as we get KENTA for Dynamite.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, AEW, generally speaking, they don't work with these other companies purely out of altruistic, purposes. Like, certainly, I think they definitely have the aim to improve the wrestling industry, but it has to kind of serve their goals and intentions as a company and as a brand. The one company that they've made any sort of that they've acquiesced to in any way without getting anything back in return is New Japan. Not in major ways, but there have been several times where they have kind of bent over or, bowed down a little bit to kind of maybe try and smooth over that relationship. But it's only till now that they've started to actually strike a deal. And yeah, I think that was kind of the trump card, is that they had Mox. Mox has the red belt. He can't go to Japan. He's got to drop it somehow, some way. And New Japan wants that match badly, and for good reason, because right now, Mox is probably the biggest name on the outside, not named Kenny Omega, that they could potentially bring in. And, they're pushing this match between him and KENTA heavily. Heavy promotion. There's a lot going into it. And I think that they're expecting this to boost New Japan World subscriptions and to increase the brand. And I think they're right to a degree on that. So
yeah, and I think it's already is happening, because I've been seeing a ton of people in the Reddit like, just sign up for New Japan World. Where do I start? How do I catch up? What do I need to watch? And so I'm seeing a lot of new fans kind of signing up right now.
Right. And so with New Japan kind of getting that side of things, they needed to give something to AEW in return. And putting KENTA on the screen, that adds an element of surprise. It kind of makes AEW destination viewing, must-watch TV. There's, they're very smart businessmen over there at AEW. I'm sure they're aware that a lot of the fan base from New Japan came over, but I bet you they also realize that there's a large contingent of people that didn't come and that probably are harboring resentment and, things like that. And then suddenly they're like, well, let's get KENTA. Who's going to turn their nose up at KENTA showing up?
Right.
It's fucking KENTA. So, they're smart in that. And then, there've been things this week during the Road 2 shows, especially the one yesterday during the cleaning and sanitation. There was a whole segment where Kevin Kelly and El Phantasmo gave a quick recap and breakdown of what happened on AEW, and Kevin Kelly promoted them, but also then used that as an opportunity to promote the upcoming match between Mox and KENTA. And we've seen some of this cross promoting already kind of start. They had KENTA, the clip with KENTA's appearance in AEW that was on New Japan World this week. AEW was putting out stuff about Kenta this week. So, I mean, it's kind of, across the board, something that's shared between the two companies right now.
Yeah, and we're seeing with Mox that they're actually, showing the U.S. title in graphics now. This whole time, like, Mox never came out with the U.S. title on AWTV, never showed it in graphics, never really mentioned it. Maybe briefly sometimes, Excalibur would kind of, drop it, like, oh, he defended the title against Suzuki or whatever. But,
right.
We never really got him with the title and actually physically seeing him with the title. We're seeing that in the match graphics now, and I'm sure on Dynamite they will be pushing, the match on New Japan Strong and telling people how to watch that matchup.
Now, one thing I will criticize here, and I know that I'd probably get flack for criticizing Dave on the show the last few weeks, but I thought it was in poor taste, bad judgment. So last week on Observer, the literally a few hours after the show aired, they started Wrestling Observer Radio, and he's like, the forbidden door is open, the deal is done, it is signed. And like when you say that, it's like, oh shit, like what? Like, and then some of the things he said was, he was like, because of the pandemic, they can't do everything that they would like to do. So I mean, you're not going to see Tanahashi showing up on AEW anytime soon. You're not going to see guys from AEW working the G1 anytime soon. He's like, but let me just put it this way. There are people in AEW who can't wait to get back to Japan. So, I mean, when you say stuff like that, it sounds like, oh, shit, this thing is a done deal.
Right.
Like, but then, like, the very next day, Brian Alvarez on Observer Live was like, guys, this is not a full-on partnership. This is a one-off agreement for AEW to use KENTA and for New Japan to use Mox on U.S. soil, and it's a one-off trade agreement, at least for now. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be anything in the future between these two companies, and it doesn't mean that this couldn't blossom or turn into something more down the road. But what it does mean is that, like, I just think if you're going to cover this in any kind of responsible way, you can't like overhype it and be hyperbolic about it and be like, it's a done deal. Because this could literally be, I'm not saying it will be, but this could be the only time they ever work together, and that be that,
Yeah.
Or, but I think it's a good sign,
Yeah, I think people just need to realize, like, it's called the forbidden door. Well, doors open and doors close. So the door is open for this deal, and once the deal's done, it's going to close. It can always reopen. Doesn't mean the door doesn't have to stay locked. But I don't think it's going to be. It's not right now. It's not open for it's completely back and forth. Seeing guys in both promotions.
And I think that this is completely a sign of the times. It's sort of a lot of why this is happening is based on the pandemic, based on the needs of different companies. Rocky Romero, actually, I wish I could give credit to what show he was on, but I saw a report where he was on a podcast this week, and they asked him about this, and he said at one point the relationship between the two companies was zilch, none, bad. It was not good. And it's only recently with what's happening that things have kind of turned around and kind of become a more positive thing altogether. Now, if you believe the narrative that's been spun, there is a narrative out there that the reason that things didn't move forward is because of Harold May specifically. So I guess he's the scapegoat that we're going to blame all this on.
Yeah.
I honestly think that business is usually a lot more complex than that. I think that there's probably a little bit on both sides, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Because there have been reports even from Dave going back to the inception of the company is that like New Japan wanted to talk to them, but they wanted Tony Khan to come to Japan. He didn't come out there. I think from a cultural standpoint, that's probably significant. But on the flip side, I've heard, that we've heard reports that there's been petty things on the New Japan side. And I mean, it's the wrestling industry. I'm sure there were.
Right.
Look at them. They're literally scrubbing Harold May off the history of this, and that's a funny thing too. I've heard a lot of people, kind of think that maybe that's some sort of contingency for the deal. Like that, like the way they literally imagine this is they think that they were like, all right, so we can use Kenta and you can use Mox. Yeah. But before that happens, you got to get Harold off all video. Otherwise, no Mox.
Yeah.
Like,
I highly doubt.
They're like, all right, it's fucking done. Harold's gone. What else do you need?
Yeah, I highly doubt that was part of the deal. I mean, we've heard reports and heard rumors of how people felt about Harold and him kind of putting himself front and center and a lot of his dealings there. And so there's definitely somebody in the office that doesn't like Harold and is like, let's.
Bro, he did. I thought he was a good president from the outside looking in, but I couldn't say with any certainty. But he pissed somebody off because they're literally spending man hours, time, resources, energy to eradicate this guy like he's Chris Benoit or something. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if they've scrubbed the big run down to the ring from Dominion yet.
Oh, well, it's forever in my heart. It doesn't matter.
We have the GIF.
Now, I'm just going to say this. I know that there are people who, maybe you're not in favor of this. I got to tell you, I think it's super exciting. I think it is awesome. There's a big part of me that would like for it to turn into an actual working agreement down the road. I think that we've seen a lot of things happen this year that we just, in the past, I would have said never really would have happened. A lot of cooperation, whether it's on a major or minor part with New Japan and companies like MLW, Impact Wrestling, ROH, CMLL, obviously, Ring of Honor. I said that, Red Pro. Obviously, some of those companies they're involved with, but like GCW, Impact, that stuff I wouldn't have really expected. And then now AEW. And I think it is because of the social climate that we're in. And, also all this stuff is stateside, so it's very different with how they're dealing with business over here, on this side than it is how they're dealing with things over in Japan, because unless you're a freelancer, like there's no cooperation with New Japan and like say DDT, All Japan, Cyber Agent, none of that.
Right. So yeah, it's been very interesting to watch all this kind of play out. And yeah, like you mentioned, the most exciting thing, it's here in American soil, and like maybe that does open the door for, some of these AEW guys to work US New Japan shows, and just thinking about like the excitement that could bring to a New Japan Strong or, down the line Wrestle Dynasty, who knows where this could lead.
Well, I mean, this is something that Rich brought up in the past, and I think it's sort of the elephant in the room. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but it's like, this is an aging roster that, while they're fantastic at creating new stars, I mean, that's always something that is really tricky and takes time, and they're not all going to be Okadas and Tanahashis and Naitos, and we're at a point where how many times can you see Ishii and Tanahashi or Ishii and Goto, Naito and Okada? I mean, a lot of those matches, we're seeing Sonata and Bushi as a big time, money-making IWGP title match, and that's great, but I think I've seen them wrestle like 4 or 5 times in the last 2 or 3 years. Same thing with like Naito and Ibushi. They just headlined the Dome, and we've seen that multiple times. And it's an aging roster who we've kind of run out of a lot of the big money matches. I mean, they brought up Shingo and Will Ospreay and like Kenta, and that kind of opens up some things. But for the most part, we've seen a lot of the different options that they have available to them. And when you talk about bringing in outsiders, I mean, Brit Wrestling is dead. Speaking Out killed that, as well as like the UK scene with WWE, and the Indies are dead. ROH, I mean, they're kind of struggling. I mean, they put on a good product and they've got some names, but I mean, how many big matchups with Roosh could you think of that you actually really want to see in New Japan? I mean,
none.
Right. And then on the flip side, you've got AEW, and it's like, yes, yeah, there are some names that we've seen before. And so, I'm sure we've seen Kenny versus almost this entire roster before, but it just is different because they're working for an outside company. They're not part of this roster anymore. And then there's a lot of names we haven't seen, like your Pentagons, your Phoenixes, your Pacs, people like that, Eddie Kingston. There's a lot of guys I would love to see wrestlers from New Japan, whether it's over here or over there. It doesn't matter to me. But all these different people need different dance partners at some point.
Right. And I think, from the AEW side, right now they're only working essentially 2 days a week. You got Dynamite and then you got Dark, and that's all they're doing. And I think a lot of the younger talent, guys like Jungle Boy and Private Party, guys like that could really benefit from, wrestling for New Japan and getting, doing a Best of Super Junior, doing a Super Junior tag league, getting some experience under their belt. They become better. And then you also get fresh matchups on the New Japan spot, especially just with the tag team division in general. I mean, AEW has literally like over 20 contracted tag teams right now. You trying to tell me, getting some of those teams over in a World Tag League or just for an IWGP tag title match to freshen things up so it's not the same 3 teams, for the whole year, it's not a good thing?
I mean, I just think back to like how it was in the 90s and names like Liger, Muto, Chono, Vader. Some of those names would have probably never been held in the kind of regard that they're held in here in the States without the cable exposure of TBS and TNT and WCW, and I think that for all intents and purposes, that's what AEW is in this modern age. They are the new WCW. I mean, literally, in so many ways, they're WCW.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for everybody involved, provided that it remains being a good thing and that, like, egos and politics and some of the downside of, business doesn't, rear its ugly head. But I just, I think it's good. I'm excited about it. I hope they do work together. And I think that this is kind of a huge needed change in the wrestling industry. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's great. I'm energized. I'm looking forward to seeing, what comes, the fallout of all this, Moxley, KENTA business. So yeah, I'm pumped up for it. And we got
I also think here's one thing I want to say. There's a lot of different coverage on New Japan. I would say by far, I don't think we, overindulge in it. But I mean, from day one, we've kind of been the New Japan team that has been pro AEW. And I feel like we've been way ahead on this thing than over a lot of other coverage that's out there, because most people that cover New Japan are what I would refer to as pro elitists. And there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of them, AEW is not their cup of tea.
Right.
And I can imagine there's a lot of people who are, maybe going to be optimistic about it, but I just want to say, I feel like we've been way ahead on this. Bro, we did a whole episode one time where we did fantasy cards between
yeah,
New Japan and AEW. So, I mean, that was over a year ago.
Yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic when New Japan was shut down.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is, people wanted to give KOPW a chance. Why can't we give AEW a chance? Come on. that's all
funny.
I'm saying. We got a bunch of questions here on the Forbidden Door. Let's rattle through these real quick. I think some of them we kind of might have already answered in our just discussion.
Sure.
First from Kyle Martin from the Wrestling Squared Circle. He says, what or who was the key to the Forbidden Door? Was it actually Tony Khan all along using his talent and TV exposure as leverage against New Japan? Or could it even be Jericho, considering his friendship with Gato? What are your thoughts?
I think we'd be foolish to assume that we happen to know any of the answers to these questions on a serious level, because we don't. I mean, think about the fact that all the executive VPs of this company spent extensive time working with New Japan. So I'm sure there's some relationship there, whether it's good or bad, it exists. And then, like you mentioned, Jericho, his dealings with them, obviously Mox is a huge part of this in many ways. And that's something that Rocky said this week. He said that this deal wouldn't be happening without Mox's involvement. So I'm sure that's part of it. And yeah, I think Tony Khan has kind of seen the benefit of this. He's talked about it for pretty openly in the past. So I think that that's something he's pushed for.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that you can point to in different, ties and relationships. But obviously the center, like we talked about, the center of this deal is KENTA and Jon Moxley, and wanting to do the U.S. title match that they've been holding off for so long now. So I think as far as this kind of what's happening right now, I think KENTA and Mox are kind of the centerpieces. But there's so many stuff that kind of laid the groundwork for this even happening and the right relationships to happen. So
I think the real reason this is happening, it all boils down to Kenny Omega, because if Kenny didn't get so hot at the same time as Okada was hot, and they needed something to preoccupy Omega's time with, and they couldn't give him the IWGP title since it was on Okada and they're trying to set the record, then that necessitated them needing to create the U.S. title. Are you following me?
yes.
Without the U.S. title existing and being made prestigious by that initial run that Kenny had with it, then Strong never becomes a thing, and Mox carrying the belt here in the States and being secluded off of New Japan never happens. I think we have all this to thank based off of Kenny Omega. You know, he's the guy that kind of made that the real world's title for like 6 or 7 months or whatever it was he held it.
Paved the way.
Paved the way.
Next question from Reddit user Wiz Factor. If the AEW NJPW relationship keeps going after Kenta versus Mox, which young lion would you like to see go on excursion in AEW?
I don't know if AEW is the right place to send anybody to an excursion. Let's just say, let's just send Gabe Kidd.
That was gonna be my answer. I feel like his style kind of mesh what's kind of going on there. I feel like it would be a good fit for him.
I just think Tsuji and Umura are like pretty much ready, so why the fuck not? Just send them there.
Yeah. Next question from Reddit user Body for Life. You each get to select one heavyweight to compete in the G1, one junior to compete in Best Super Junior, and one tag team to compete in the World Tag League from the AEW roster, with the only caveat being the talent you select has to have never appeared for NJPW before. Who do you pick and why?
Okay. Great question. So who would you pick?
So for heavyweight for the G1, I think I would go with Pac for my heavyweight.
Bro, he's 205.
Nah, man, that man's a heavyweight. That man's jacked.
Not in Japan, he's not.
For best of the Super Juniors, I would go with Ray Phoenix. And then for the World Tag League, I think I would go with there's just so many great tag teams in AEW. Think I'm gonna go with Santana and Ortiz. Proud and Powerful.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good choice there. So for the G1, I'm gonna pick Billy Gunn. Oh wait, hold on. They have to have never appeared for New Japan.
That's right. That man had an IC title match.
Then my Gun Club pick is out the. You know, he was a Bull Club hunter at one point. It's not gonna work. I don't know who to pick for. I mean, it's tough.
I mean, you could pick Brian Cage.
Nah, fuck that. I'll pick Pentagon, I suppose.
Good pick.
And then, I would have picked Ray Phoenix is who I'd pick for the juniors as well. But since I can't pick him, there's some good names. You could throw in Darby. You could throw in Jungle Boy. But I'm going to pick Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, that's somebody else who I thought about too.
Yeah, so also Sting is an option. Oh, no, he's been with New Japan. Otherwise I pick him. As far as a tag team, that's a tough one. I don't know. Top Flight? Is that their name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would they be a heavyweight tag team, or are they a junior tag team?
It's the World Tag League. It doesn't matter. They got to be heavyweights.
I'm just saying, have we seen junior tag teams in the World Tag League recently?
Bro, I don't fucking know.
I mean, I don't care, but you can. I mean, I would be excited to see them.
I don't know who the tag teams are there. I guess the FTR would be fine.
Yeah, there's FTR. I mean, Butcher and Blade.
FTR is a good choice. Let's just move on. It's a long question. It's a good question. I don't know AEW like that.
Next, we have Viking Pain. He says, you have Uncle Dave saying the door is open, but then you have Alvarez saying to hold it because he's hearing that it's just Kenta. It's a Kenta thing right now, and there's still a forbidden door. So who you got? Personally, I'm just going to wait for our pastrami sandwich eating friends on this one.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think the honest truth is probably what Brian's saying. I think that Dave was just a little bit
a little gung-ho.
Yeah, I thought he was a little gung-ho there.
Read a question from Reddit user, why did you do that, bro? Are either of you concerned that if New Japan and AEW do work together, that the booking will significantly go downhill and guys like Yoshihashi and Doki will get sidelined during tournament season?
No, not really at all. Because, I mean, think about it. When you have... Okay, let me put it to you this way. New Japan Pro Wrestling has had a long, lengthy, probably, I don't know exactly, I want to say decade, but at least, 6, 7, maybe 8-year truly extensive partnership with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, bro. Let me say it again for you. Ring of Honor. Now, not just the Ring of Honor from 6 or 7 years ago. We're talking about the Ring of Honor of 2 years ago, 1 year ago. Did that affect New Japan's booking in any way? Did Gato not deserve all those best booker in the world awards that he got while they were in a truly deep marriage with Ring of Honor with, like the Beer City Bruiser and Punishment Martinez and Silas Young? No, it didn't affect them one way or the other. Here's the thing. The reality is when this partnership sort of thing goes on, I don't know what it will truly entail, but if it's anything like it was with WCW said, hey, you can use this guy. We're going to sign off on anything that you want him to do. And vice versa. If New Japan sent Liger, they signed off on everything Liger did. It's not like WCW had autonomy to fuck these guys up. And it's not like when, if hypothetically this happens, it's not like they're going to send over Peter Avalon and he's going to be on a bed and doing library and shit. Like, that's not going to happen. So no, I have no fear of this whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's going to enhance the booking. If you're going to get fresh matchups, you're going to get new guys, fresh faces in the G1, best Super Juniors. You're going to get fresh title challengers. Still, yeah, I think it's going to be better all.
Now, is there a possibility that maybe it might tighten up the fields for tournaments? Possibly. But, if you're Doki or you're Yoshihashi, that means that you need to work harder to get more over so that you are deserving of your spot. And not just them, everybody that's involved in, you can't rest on your laurels at that point. That's a good thing. Competitiveness and the drive for competitiveness is one of the things that drives the wrestling industry. So I think that's a positive.
Yeah, right there with you. Next question here from Mags. He says, do you think the changes in management in NJPW helped in getting this working relationship over the line, or is it merely the need to get the U.S. title back into the company?
I mean, I think it'd be wildly speculating to assume one thing or the other. I think it's a likelihood it probably helped. I think the COVID situation helped. And I think the title situation helped. I think it's a combination. I think it's like the perfect storm, probably.
Yeah, it's like all the pieces falling in the right place. I do think there's a little bit of Harold May stuff that probably went on, and also that they want the U.S. title back. I mean, especially with the IC title being with the heavyweight title, you kind of need another title until they want their title back. So
I'm also going to assume that. As much as some of the New Japan fan base likes to shit on Tony Khan, him, being willing to do things like send over his champions, let guys have dual contracts, let the AEW world title appear on Wrestle Kingdom. I think things like that kind of put him in a good position from day one and probably, helps as well.
Yeah. Next question here from Reddit user Grunty Dodds. Presumably, some AEW fans are signing up to watch Kenta vs. Mox on the 26th. What they may not realize is that you're going to be charged again on March 1st unless they cancel right after. Do you think this timing was intentional?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty smart marketing decision right there. People sign up at the end of the month, not realizing when a charge happens. Boom, they have another month, and then hey, they're signed up for anniversary show and New Japan Cup.
Yeah, and why would you get rid of it at that point? You might as well watch those too.
Right. ...
Yeah, I mean that if it was me, I'd do the same shit.
Next question from A-Man says, do you think we could see an U.S. Bullet Club versus NJPW Bullet Club? I think Jay and GOD live in the U.S., so I think it's a possibility. And if it happens, who do you think should be the fifth member of NJPW BC to compete against the U.S. so we can have a blood and guts match?
I don't know. I guess ELP, maybe Hikuleo. Chase Owens is kind of in the mix too, I suppose.
Yeah, I think ELP would be my first choice. Then yeah, Hikuleo would probably be my second choice.
But here's the real question: who would be on? I mean, you got Kenny, you got the Good Brothers, and who else? They don't have anybody else.
I think he might be counting the Young Bucks.
You can't count them; they're not part of it. Fucking what's his face? Don Callis tried to buy them off.
Yeah, but I mean, they're still, as of right now, still friendly with Gallows and Anderson, still talking to them. They have a problem with Callis.
Nuh-uh. It doesn't work. You're gonna have to find some other U.S. former Bullet Club members to join this group. I guess he could grab Marty Scurll and Hangman Page. I don't know.
I don't know if they're going to be grabbing Marty Scurll anytime soon.
I don't think I would really be into that. I'd probably be into seeing if they really did it, if they did GOD and JY against Kenny and the Good Brothers, that I would actually be down for.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Next question here from Discord from Stale Burger Bun. Which AEW wrestlers would you shut the forbidden door on?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't like Austin Gunn. I really, really don't like him. So maybe him. All the women for sure. No, I'm just playing. I don't know, man. Who is there anyone you really don't like from AEW that you shut the door on? Because I mean, there's not much for me.
Kip Sabian. Not a huge fan of Kip.
I think Kip's fine.
But
I don't know. I mean, he's just as good or better than most people in ROH.
Yeah. Gun Club. I mean, I could do
anyone in the Nightmare family that's not named QT or Dustin is pretty much a joke.
I don't know. Lee's pretty raw.
I mean, I would like for him to be, but yeah, he's a good wrestler, but I mean, he's 0-29, bro. I don't know. I bet you there's other people who probably hate Orange Cassidy and Miro and shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Miro's presentation in AEW. Maybe if he's something different in New Japan, that I could rock with that. But I'm not down with best man, best video gamer Miro right now.
I'd probably like to see Silver in a Best of the Super Juniors.
Yes, Silver, Best Super Juniors, Silver and Reynolds in the Super Junior Tag League would be fun.
All right, next question.
From our good old buddy Rich Latta from One Nation Radio says, who are some of the wrestlers you'd want to see most in the other promotions environment?
I think for me, the biggest answer for New Japan is Pentagon. I just, bro, my ultimate dream match for Pentagon is Minoru Suzuki. They've never touched, never come in contact. That just sounds like fucking incredible to me. I feel I think Phoenix would be those are my top two, but I think Pentagon's my number one.
Yeah, seeing those guys in a New Japan environment would be incredible. I think Brian Cage is another guy on AEW right now I would like to see in that environment.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anybody from New Japan that you just really would like to see in AEW? I think I know mine.
I think Tanahashi, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I mean, Okada and his relationship with the Bucks, it would be great to see Okada on AEW
I mean, Tanahashi's my favorite guy. I think he's at that point where he should be traveling the world like he's fucking Liger, but
right.
He can't because we're in a pandemic. But if they decide at some point to let him go on a world tour and fuck around and have great matches in AEW, then that would be incredible.
I would really like to see Jay White in the AEW environment just because AEW has been such a great promo company, and having Jay
nobody knows.
Right, and having Jay cut these fire promos on TNT every week would be great.
Yeah, he's a really, really, really good promo. Zack Saber.
Yeah,
I'll throw that out there. Zack Saber's one I'd like to see over in AEW. So yeah, great question.
And next question here from Rambo and Slam Pig actually has 3 questions here. So first he asks, who from AEW that hasn't appeared in NJPW would you like to see in a tournament or on a tour? I think we've kind of
exhausted that one.
Yeah. His next question, do you believe that AEW will be an excursion destination, or is the working relationship likely to be more limited? Where does this leave ROH?
I think it's possible. We've seen in the past where New Japan has sent people on excursion to like their partners like ROH and WCW and TNA. So I don't think that's an impossibility. I just think the once a week deal that they've got, and actually it's only, in reality, it's only twice every other week.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if that would work necessarily. As far as the ROH relationship, I mean, I think New Japan has all the leverage there. So it kind of depends on whether ROH is willing to play ball and what New Japan really wants. Because at this point, I don't see where ROH is going to be like, all right, well, you're not going to work with us. We're going to hold you over a barrel. Like, they don't have anything to do that with. Like, the ball's completely in New Japan's court. And I also think that right now, with everyone working together, I think it's become quite clear that AEW is a firm major league company, and everybody else is way, way behind when it comes to North America. So it's not even like how it was when AEW was, first coming off the ground. We didn't know what it was going to be, how big it was going to be, what it really would turn into. So I mean, I think they were kind of viewed more as an actual adversary and competitor with ROH. That's not the case anymore. Like, they've by large eclipsed anything that MLW, ROH, NWA, UWN, all these smaller companies impact. They're way beyond them.
Yeah, I mean, ROH, there are some some good guys there that I would love to see still compete in New Japan. But yeah, New Japan has all the leverage in that relationship, and you're going to utilize whatever you can. And so yeah, ROH really doesn't have anything to hold over New Japan's head. And so I think as for now, we've still been seeing ROH contracted guys show up on Strong. And we know, Dragon Lee is a kind of a key guy that works both ROH and New Japan. There's still some key guys that are working both promotions.
I also think that the fact that companies like Impact and AEW are working together and they're making it work, at least for now, and their willingness to do these sorts of things for the good of all kind of spreads a message of good faith that maybe someone like ROH, like a Delirious, can be like, you know what, this might be good for us. It might be okay for us all to kind of work together, at least, loosely. So I'm kind of optimistic when it comes to that, which in the past I've been very pessimistic about that sort of, possibility.
Yeah. His last question, of all the partnerships and working relationships, are we getting closer to Okada's stated dream of a giant interpromotional super show, or does that seem too grandiose and difficult to wrangle the politics of booking it?
I mean, one thing, I don't know if anyone's thought of this. I mean, we've already seen that show happen before. It was called All In. Seriously,
yeah.
All In literally had talent from all the major companies.
They had New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact.
AAA, CMLL.
Yeah.
They had everybody. It was crazy. And I mean, on that show, they had the IWGP champion, the AAA Mega champion. They had the Impact World champion, the ROH World title, the NWA World title, the WWN title. I think they had the GCW World title. Like they had like 7 or 8 world champions all on the same show at the same time. But because it was it was an indie show, but it was pretty much a major show between multiple, at least talent from different companies.
Right.
But I think it's possible that we could see something like that. But that is what worries me, is because when Pro Wrestling USA tried this in the 80s, and that was a group that was made up of NWA, AWA, World Class, and Memphis, it did not work out well for anybody except for maybe Jim Crockett, and probably not even them. Like, it kind of fucked everybody over, and there's too many chefs in the kitchen. And so when you start talking about the politics of a major show, that gets a lot more dicey than, just talent exchanges.
Right, yeah. And the more promotions you add, the trickier it's going to get.
Revenue split, who's getting paid what, who decides whose champion's going to win what. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different with, All In, where you have like the Bucks and Kenny and Cody are kind of all in charge and under booking. Whereas,
but it was also very clear at the time that ROH and New Japan had a lot of say in what was happening with that show.
Right.
So I mean, it's not like it. It's very similar to what he's asking about. I mean, it basically was that.
Yeah. So I mean, could it happen again? Maybe, but I think it'd be a lot harder this time around. So that's all the questions on the Forbidden Door. There are some more Moxley Kenta stuff, but I figured we'd cover that when we talk about New Japan Strong, which we're going to talk about real quickly right now. So this week started off the Road to the New Beginning USA. We had the 2 new Young Lions facing off the DKC, defeating Kevin Knight in the opener. Then in the middle of the show, we had the most random 8-man tag ever, with Adrian Quest, Bateman, Jordan Clearwater, and Mysterioso defeating Barrett Brown, Brody King, and the Regal Twins. Then in the main event, we had Ray Horace getting his first strong win, defeating TJP.
Yeah, ROH beating Impact / MLW.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed the main event between Horace and TJP.
Yeah, it was good. I thought the show was fine. I think I liked DKC and Kevin Knight the most, just for the intrigue of it. Some good stuff there. I mean, it was a fine episode.
Yeah, there's also a John Moxley promo talking about, he wants the Kenta of old. He doesn't want the Bullet Club Kenta. He wants the Kenta that everybody stole their moves from. The Gunslinger Kenta. That's who he wants.
The only unfortunate thing is this was, shot back in December, obviously, and we're in February now, and so it was a good promo, but it didn't allude in any way to what had occurred on AEW, and that's kind of what we talked about with these tape shows. It's like the canon shows for the Road to New Beginning over in Japan are referencing it, but this show failed to do that, which kind of dates it a little bit. But other than that, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. So the next coming weeks, we'll have this coming week, Friday, February 12th, we'll have Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson, Danny Limelight taking on Ren Narita and TJP. Then on the 19th, we'll have ELP versus Leo Rush. And then the 26th is the big IWGP US title match, John Moxley defending against Kenta. We had a question here from Al Matic. Says, do you see the IWGP US title becoming the top title on NJPW Strong for this year and just having it defended on domestic shows, or do you think they'll put it on Kenta and eventually get it back to Japan for it to be defended on shows there?
I mean, I think a lot of this is dependent on what the travel situation with COVID is, but I mean, my best guess, let's just assume they're able to come back and forth. I'm assuming that having the title on the actual New Japan shows makes it a more credible and prestigious belt when it does air as an attraction on the Strong show. I don't see the champion being on the Strong show every week. I liken this more to like when the NWA champion would travel and then when he'd come back, it would pop television ratings. That's kind of what I'm imagining they're going to do with the U.S. title here on Strong.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. You know, I'm thinking they put on a guy like Kenta, who we've seen go back and forth between the U.S. and Japan. So you could have Kenta. Yeah, he does a set of tapings for Strong, and then he's in Japan doing stuff in Japan. Then 2 months later, he comes back, does some more tapings, kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, and I mean, let's just think about it. Okay, if it's just a Strong title, because Strong is just a taped show right now in front of pretty much nobody. It actually is a demotion for the belt itself,
Yeah.
But if you turn around and you say, no, it's going to headline shows in Japan, and then it's going to be used in this attraction, this is a title that's fought for abroad in multiple countries, multiple comers. It actually raises the value of the title, the champion, and the show itself. So I think that's the better situation all around. Plus, like you mentioned, I mean, these are just sets of tapings. It's not like they're touring or anything like that.
Right, and like you mentioned, you have Kenta, defends against Ishii in the main event of some big show, and then next thing you know, Kenta's coming to come to the U.S. to defend against whoever on Strong, against Leo Rush on Strong, and it's like, that's a big match.
And let's just throw it out there. Let's say hypothetically he lost the title over in Japan. Well, then when Taichi is the champion and he makes his debut on Strong, that's going to be destination viewing. So, I mean, it just makes all the sense in the world that they would go back and forth.
Yeah. Next question from Kevin Crawford. He said, is Kenta winning the IWGP US Championship on Strong considered a lock at this point? And what sort of programs does he get into coming off of this?
Really interesting question. I think it I'm going to say this. I think for sure he's winning the belt. It's been a logistics nightmare for Jon Moxley to have the title, and there's enough distance between Mox and his AEW title reign to where he can eat the loss. My concern is what type of loss it actually ends up being. Because with Kenta being a heel, and we've seen him use a lot of cheap, underhanded tactics on New Japan Strong, much more so than during his regular runs with New Japan over on that side. I think that there's definitely a chance for like shenanigans and things like that to be involved in the match. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe let's just say hypothetically, Kenny Omega cost him the belt. Then maybe I'd kind of forgive it a little bit. That might be kind of crazy and cool and exciting, but I think one thing that's also on the table is a series of matches.
Yeah.
Maybe not immediately, but at some point. But it's going to really depend on how well the match delivers. We haven't had any classic matches on New Japan Strong. We've had good, solid wrestling, but they haven't given anything enough time to really breathe and be a great match. And I think they need to give these guys 30 minutes or at least 20 or more to go out there and do their thing. And you only get one opportunity to have a great first match. So if the match is really great, then people might demand to see it again. But the second time they do this, they're not going to have all of this promotion and the buzz about the first match. The only way they get something resembling that is if the match is really good and people want to see it again, which means they have to have a great performance.
Right. And, honestly, if it was my call, I think I would dedicate the whole hour for them. Do hype videos and promo packages and promos and recapping everything, building up to the match, and then do the match, give the match time to breathe and maybe have like, some kind of post-match angle and just have the whole like, episode dedicated to these two guys.
That's a great idea. I mean, that's exactly what they did with Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler in their Loser Leaves Town match in '83. The whole hour episode was dedicated to that match. And they did the same thing you mentioned. Backstage vignettes, promos, the build, the walkouts, the post-match, everything.
Yeah. And I agree. I do think there could be like a series of matches. Like if it works out that way, like I would have Kenta win here, and then once Moxley can travel to Japan, do Mox versus Kenta rematch in Japan.
And yeah, they could definitely do it in Japan. They might, there could even be a deal on the table where they do it on Strong, they do it on AEW, and they do it in New Japan.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe they do a trilogy that way. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
Yeah. Any guesses on what Kenta would do after this program, after the Mox program?
I don't know. The one thing I kind of think is there's a lot of possibilities, obviously. One thing that I kind of am reminded of is the fact that they tried to do a Moxley versus Zack Saber Jr. feud last year, and it didn't happen because of COVID. And based on the story that's going with Dangerous Techers, I got a feeling they're not going to regain those titles. That might leave Zack open to potentially fight for this title, and he might be a good candidate to be. A lot of people like the Kenta Zack match from G1 this year.
Yeah, and there was the backstage promo on one of these Road 2 shows where Zack was like, have people forgot I'm also a singles wrestler? Like, I'm planning on being a double champion, tag champion, and a singles champion this year. So maybe that was him planting seeds for potential matchup with Kenta.
Yeah, possibly.
Next question here from Damian Miller. Do you think that Kenta beats Moxley only to put over Carl Fredericks when he's healthy?
That's a possibility, for sure. I wasn't thinking necessarily that the first guy that beats Kenta for the title would be a Strong guy, but that is one way you could definitely go. Jeff Cobb's another person that could challenge for this title who is stateside as well. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with Carl. It felt like when they initially started this series of shows that he was going to be the focal point, but since they've started Strong, it really hasn't been so. But there's history between them, so it's a possibility.
Yeah, I can definitely see a match. I'm not sure if Kenta is going to drop the title to him. That's really dropping the rocket to Fredericks. I would like to see Fredericks come to Japan and do some stuff there first before kind of.
That's what I was going to say. I think that if you change the title over here and Carl hasn't done enough to endear himself to the audience in Japan, then he'll feel flat when he goes over there. As opposed to if he kind of makes a name in Japan first, then it doesn't matter if you do the switch over there or over here. It'll, people will want to see it, but he kind of needs to go to Japan first.
Yeah.
I don't see them dropping the belt to anybody that's primarily made just on the US-based show.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think it's going to be like one of the kind of made New Japan guys, like a guy that's on the quote-unquote main roster of New Japan.
Yeah, and like we just mentioned, if it's going to be someone from over, I think that will be one telltale. If we start seeing, once travel restrictions are gone, if we start seeing any of these Strong guys make their way over to Japan and get the push, that's going to be a key indicator of things to come.
Next question here from EMJ Does PR. What title has the most buzz in the company right now? Are Japanese fans into this U.S. title angle?
Interesting question. I couldn't tell you what the Japanese fans think about this because I don't know that answer. As far as what title has the most buzz, this is just this is just what I think based off of what I'm seeing on the Road 2 shows. Feels like the double titles. I'm not that into Bushi and Sonata personally, but it feels like the audience over there is really into it.
Yeah. I think stateside, I think the U.S. title does have the most buzz stateside just because of the Moxley Kenta thing.
I would disagree. I don't think it's the title. I think it's the characters involved. I feel like most people probably aren't even aware that a U.S. title is involved in this thing. I think that's why they're letting Mox come out with the belt Wednesday night, to let people know, like, oh, there's a belt.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Never title has a lot of buzz coming off of that Shingo Tanahashi match.
I'd agree.
But yeah, I think there's a lot.
I would agree. The only thing is Tanahashi hasn't been on these latest set of Road to shows, and that's the only reason I didn't say him.
Yeah, because that's kind of cooled off. They had a great match, and then he kind of disappeared. But yeah, but like you said, like I think the crowd's really into Bushi, Sonata, and Sho and Hiromu, the junior title match.
Yeah, and it makes sense because those are the two top build, programs.
Yeah. And I'm curious, any of our Japanese listeners, like Reddit user PCN91, I would love to, if you guys have any insight to kind of what the Japanese fans think about the U.S. title and this whole Moxley Kenta angle. Hit us up and let us know.
No, chill. We only want to know about our own opinions, no one else's. Joking.
Next question is from Reddit user Viking Payne. He says, recently Rocky spoke in an interview on how he envisioned NJPW Strong evolving into an NXT-like brand for New Japan. Do you think the show has that type of potential? And what would you change about the show to make it better in your opinion? Like the lighting, the atmosphere, or even color commentary?
I think that would be great. I think that's the way to go. I think it was commendable that they initially wanted this to feel authentic to New Japan, and it makes sense why you'd want to do that. But at the end of the day, it's not New Japan. It's an extension of it, though. It's not obviously the same as a Cork and Hall show. It's uniquely different. Now, I don't know if you should change all of the look of it or update it necessarily. I'm not sure if I'm in favor of that. I think some of that familiarity and connection to New Japan is a good thing, especially since we're in a different country. But I got to think about like the way that like NXT UK has handled the way that they've done it. They've kind of made it very much a British version of, as far as the look goes, of the NXT product. I'm not so sure that they shouldn't be doing the same thing over here. I know people don't like to hear this, but like, because there's people that are against like nationalism, things like that. But maybe there should be some American flags or something to let people know, like, it's NJPW of America,
right?
That NJPW of America logo is prominently featured, and that there is a clear distinction that like this is the American extension of it. I think maybe they I don't want to put anyone out of work, but like maybe they should have their own announce team. Maybe they should have their own crew, and maybe, and I think they've kind of started that, but I think it would be a good idea for them to try and make something unique, kind of like how NXT is unique to WWE.
Yeah, and I think some bigger stuff that we've talked about in the past has been, more angles, more promos, which we've been seeing lately. I still think they can tighten some stuff up with some of the storytelling. Like, we had that random 8-man tag on this past week's show. Like, what was that building to? Like, there's, like, no really, like, feud, like, or angle coming out of that match. And so I think, if you're going to have a random match, there should be no need for random matches. Like, every match should have a purpose and should be building to something.
Yeah, that's one of the things is, like, they've got a mix of, like, Dynamite and then a mix of Dark all at the same time. And the show should have more direction. I mean, I get why they did it. It's a taping, and they've got, so many bodies, and they're trying to pay them and use them, and they've only got so much time. So that's kind of why. I think as time goes on, crowds will be a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
I think changing the location. I think that they cannot solely do the show in that that soundstage. Or if they do, they need to have the fans there, like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood does or whatever.
Yeah. Getting fans back will be a huge, like, injection of life to this show. His next question, he says, Chris Dickinson and Leo Rush fit in New Japan like a glove. Do you guys have any info on their status with the company? Like, are they signed or are they just working freelance? Because Leo Rush has merch on NJPW Shop.
I don't think any. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could ask, I guess. But, I mean, I think they're probably just freelancers for now. I think very few of these guys are signed to anything exclusive with New Japan.
Right. I mean, we are seeing a lot of these guys wrestle MLW, GCW, do a lot of different kind of indie stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe they sign like a merchandising deal with New Japan so they can get merch on the site since they are going to be featured on Strong a lot. But
I mean, if you're Leo Rush and you've been in anyone that's been like in WWE or the big leagues, I'm sure that they can get merch deals. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, this whole thing with Strong really kind of, in a way, saves our Excursion of the Match Year award, but also makes it hell because in the past we've always said if someone is not part of New Japan proper, like let's say Marty Scurll, if he's wrestling all his dates in Ring of Honor and then he comes over here and works just the Super Junior tournament and maybe like one other tour, we didn't really count his matches in Ring of Honor as excursion matches. Well, now we're in this weird conundrum where like almost everybody in Strong are like outsiders, but they're also like integral to the actual show itself.
Right, yeah.
And they're working a lot for New Japan, so it's like, are they outsiders? Do Chris Dickinson's matches in Bloodsport count? And for right now, like we're kind of just reviewing them, and I'm just gonna kind of play it by ear for the rest of the year and see how it all plays out for each case by case. But I got a strong feeling that a lot of these guys probably will qualify for these awards by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Also, I disagree. I don't know that I feel. Oh, Jeremy, you want a hot take?
Yeah, drop it.
Leo Rush, overrated.
Oh, wow.
Now, let me qualify that. Leo Rush is one of the best wrestlers in the world today. I'm not saying he's overrated from a ability standpoint. I'm saying he's overrated based on his reputation. Every time I see Leo Rush, since he's come back from since he got let go, I've not been impressed one single time. Not in a real, actual way. I think he's probably spreading himself too thin between too many projects, and I think he's not really that passionate about doing this right now. Because every time I see him go out there, he goes out there with top guys, and I always think it should be good. But like all those GCW matches, like kind of disappointed me. All the New Japan matches have disappointed me, and all the MLW matches have too. And it's not like he's wrestling bad, but like we're talking about him like he's still wrestling at that like NXT level that he was a year or two ago, or like the ROH level. And he's not. He hasn't gone out and done that one single time. Like he's not going out there like now. ACH is like the opposite. He like reinvigorated himself since he got let go and came back. Leo Rush has yet to do any of that. I don't think right now. I would disagree. I don't even think he fits into New Japan like a glove. I think he's just there.
Man, that is a hot take. I mean, I don't know. I really like Leo Rush, and I think he's been fine on Strong. I just don't really think they've really done anything with him. I mean, now they're doing this ELP program, so maybe we'll see something there. And then I know in GCW he's been doing this whole like Black Heart gimmick thing that's been weird with his feud with what's his face.
I mean, if Leo Rush turned it around, would I be surprised? Absolutely not. But like, here's the thing: it used to be Leo Rush would be like in a 6-man tag or 8-man, and he'd be the guy that like blew everyone out of the water. I haven't seen that once. And if anyone disagrees with me, show me the great Leo Rush matches you've seen in the last year since he left WWE. Show me one. Now, I heard good things about the Blake Christian matches that he had recently. I haven't watched them yet, so maybe that will prove me wrong. But so far, none of those ACH or Joey Janela matches or the ELP match, none of that, the Myron Reed match, none of that shit holds up.
Yeah,
it's way below his standards.
Yeah, he's got a big match on MLW this week. So,
I've been watching some MLW. None of the Laredo Kid matches I've seen have been that good either. So I got a feeling that match won't really be all that either.
The next question here from Ready to Just a Little Bear 01. If you had to pick one of the Strong regulars that is a New Japan outsider to be in the New Japan Cup, whom would you want?
We're going to say the same answer. It's Chris Dickinson easily.
Yeah, just to be different, I'll say Filthy Tom.
That would be a good one. I mean, I wouldn't say no to Brody King.
Oh, yeah. Brody would be awesome.
All right. So let's talk about these road to New Japan shows.
Yeah, so we had 2 Road to New Beginnings. Just going to run through these results real quick, and if there's any questions, because, it's been pretty much what we've been reviewing the last, several weeks on what's been going down here. So,
And what I did to kind of help out, I have created a list of all the ongoing feuds in New Japan, and there are quite a few.
Yeah, there are a lot of feuds going on right now. So on February 3rd, we had Gabriel Kidd and Ryosuke Taguchi defeating Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. We had Okada, Ishii, and Yano defeating the Bullet Club team of Evil, Jay White, and Yujiro Takahashi. We had the Bullet Club team of ELP, Jado, Taiji, Tama, and Tangaloa defeating the Sugun team of Doki, Desperado, Taichi, Kanemaru, and Zack Saber Jr. Semi-main event, we had Hiromu and Naito defeating Sho and Hanuma. And then in the main event, we had Bushi and Sonata defeating Ibushi and Master Wato. And I believe this was a show that we had Goto jumping out on commentary and, getting, the, disciplined by New Japan management for leaving the commentary booth and attacking Jay White.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the story right now. So, there's an ongoing feud between Jay White and, by extension, Gato against what was initially just Ishii, but, through proximity, based on the fact that he's a never 6-man champion, plus old country beef with Chaos.
Yeah.
White is getting heat with Goto as well as Yoshihashi. And did they lay all 3 of them out recently, like on the show a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it. But Goto was on commentary. And Jay White was mouthing off to him, and Goto jumped the barricade, and him and Ishii beat the shit out of Jay White. And it was great because we've always talked about wanting to see those 2 tag team, and I was like, this is yes, give this to me. Like they gave us a little taste. I liked it.
Yeah.
And then Jay White throwing a tantrum, talking about how this guy endangered the fans, endangered the wrestlers, broke protocol. And then we tweeted out this week where New Japan in the storyline, they put out a official quote unquote, reprimand against Goto. So they gave him a formal disciplinary action, which is basically nothing. So it's kind of like, I love this kayfabe shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty funny to see. So then we moved to February 8th. The show opened up. We had Suzuki-gun, Desperado, Suzuki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeated Gabriel Kidd, Ryosuke Taguchi, and Yuya Uemura. Had a question here from Producer Dun Diesel 86. He's on the February 8th 42 show. I felt like Suzuki gave a lot to Uemura. The young lion was lighting the murder grandpa up with slaps and forearms. Do you feel like this was direction from booking or Suzuki doing what he can to get the youngster over? Either way, I find it fascinating watching the young lions grow. I look forward to seeing what the future holds for Uemura, Tsuji, and Kidd.
It's definitely part of the storyline. This has been an ongoing thing with Uemura, where he's been trying to challenge, Minoru Suzuki, and Minoru Suzuki's been saying in the interviews that he's going to literally murder. We call him Murder Grandpa. Well, he's going to kill Uemura. But Uemura goes out there every night, slaps the shit out of him. He might lose, but in the promos, he keeps saying, "I'm still alive," which reminds me of like when Jeff Hardy lost to Undertaker.
Yes.
He on the fucking mic. He's like, "Taker, I'm still here." So Uemura is basically doing a version of that, but much more badass.
Yeah.
And we've seen this sort of thing before. Gabe Kidd was, challenging Nagata, but then Makabe earlier this year.
Yeah.
And we've seen the same thing with like Hanare and Ishii in the past.
Right. Yeah, I feel we always kind of see certain young lions kind of target a certain main roster guy to kind of have a feud with and to kind of, really push them to make a name for themselves.
But man, what a name to do it with, Minoru Suzuki. My God.
Right. man definitely has a death wish. But yeah, I definitely think it's part of the story. I don't think Suzuki's just going out there by himself and saying, "Yeah, I really want to get Uemura over."
Yo, I want to fuck up Uemura today.
Next question from Dom Homie 101. He says, with the current group of young lions looking ready for an excursion, but with COVID in the way, do you guys think that maybe it's time to elevate guys like Yota Tsuji and Yumura to a new level? We already are seeing that Yumura wants all the smoke with Suzuki. Yota Tsuji did express wanting a match against Naito.
Yeah, so that's the other feud that's going on right now. Tsuji's been going out there and petitioning to the IWGP themselves.
That's right.
To give him a singles match with Tetsuya Naito. And I think he even did like a social media campaign if he gets like 55,000 likes or something. But so far they haven't signed off on it. And, you know, that is a big sign. Normally when a promising young lion gets a big singles match against a big star like that, that's the last time before they like go to excursion very often. But right now he hasn't been able to secure a match with Naito. And surprisingly, they did a backstage segment where obviously we kind of know that Hanma's been in this little mini feud with Naito. And he's also been in like during the tag league. I don't remember who was he tagging with during that.
Hanma? Yeah.
There was a time recently where Hanma was tagging with someone and they were winning all their matches against Young Lions. Was it Nagata?
I think it was Nagata.
Well, yeah, and like they were winning all the matches, whoever it was, but like Hanma wasn't picking up any of the wins, and he was talking about how he needed to prove he was above the Young Lions still and get wins, and he never won on that tour. Well, they did a backstage segment this week where Hanma was laid out after a match because again he lost to Naito, and then Tsuji approached him, and he like told Tsuji like, you know, you're gonna try and fight Naito, but like, you know, you can't even beat me, basically. And then like Tsuji was like, well, if I need to beat you to get to Naito, then that's what I'll do. So it sounds like they're kind of parlaying that little story with Naito and Hanma into a story with Tsuji mixed in. So it's like, it's weird. You got a dad, a lion, and a megastar all involved in a little feud together. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to watch, and it's definitely something great for Tsuji to do. And as far as elevating these guys, I mean, I would like for Tsuji and Yumura to have some kind of excursion. I think it would be good for them. But they're ready as far as skills wise. I think they could be given, you know, gimmicks and be utilized. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes that's not always the best for guys. I mean, we see guys like Kanare who really didn't get that full excursion, just kind of changed, you know, got the gimmick, and then it's still kind of in the young lion role. And I would hate to see these guys get upgraded and still kind of be just young lions, essentially.
Agreed.
So the next up, we had Bullet Club, Evil, Jay White, and Yujiro defeated Goto, Okada, and Yano by disqualification because this time Yoshihashi was on commentary. Jay White got in his face. Yoshihashi said, "Oh, you want the smoke?" And laid into Jay White, and they actually called for a DQ here. Yeah,
so Yoshihashi also not, basically putting up with any of his shit. So Chaos beating up, Jay White on site. It's pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
The funny thing is during the post-match the day before, during the third, Jay White was, trying to cut a promo and talk shit, and then Ishii ran up and fought that man in the backstage press. So last night, same thing. After they won the match, he ran to the back, but instead of cutting the promo, there were these doors in Korakuen, and all of Chaos was trying to burst through these double doors, and Gato and Jay White barricaded the doors and sat in front of them. And while he's trying to cut a promo, all of Chaos is pounding on the doors, and Gato's like, "Shut up!" So these men's, they outsmarted all of Chaos, but and he was talking about I got hit a few times by Yoshihashi, but who won the match? That was the master plan.
Right.
But I love this. I love, and this is a continuation. I mean, Jay White turned on the Bullet Club or on Chaos a couple years ago. And then remember, not this past year's G1, but the one before, he lost to Yano Ishii, and Goto, all three back to back to back in the first 3 nights of the G1, which was like sort of comeuppance for, his, turning on Chaos back in the day. So like, I love that. Like, Chaos doesn't even really feel like that much of a unit anymore until Jay White's involved.
Right. It's like, yeah, we'll chill with Hontai. Oh, hold up, Jay White's coming. Let's jump him.
So that's pretty cool.
So then third match of the night, we had Suzuki-gun, team of Doki, Taichi, and Zack Saber Jr. defeating Jado and God. Question from Dundiesel86 is, I've noticed Tama Tonga has been acting kind of goofy lately. He's got the maniacal laughter, and he's spouting Japanese. Is this something he's always done, or are the Iron Fingers causing him to lose his shit, or is he just having fun getting Taichi all worked up?
I think it's all of the above. Like, it's probably, he likes to have fun and he's being a troll. But I like the idea that the Iron Fingers are taking hold of him and making him lose his sense of reality. Like, I think that's, it's like the one ring to rule them all.
Right. It's the lore of the Iron Fingers,
The lore?
it drove Asuka crazy. And, now, we've seen, Taichi normally keeps it in the bag, doesn't always use it, only every once in a while, because he knows the lore, he knows the power of the Iron Finger. He knows, he knows if I use this all the time, I'm going to go crazy. But,
you know how it's the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Well, this is the lore of the claw.
Right. And so Tama Tonga's
the lore of the fingers
has been using the fingers. He's taking the fingers out on dates, to restaurants. He's been sleeping with it, and so he has it on all the time. So yeah, it's driving him crazy.
Bro, it's driving Taichi crazy too. In the backstage promos, he's saying all sorts of like crazy shit, and like he's not focused at all. Like he's lost his mind.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
But we've seen this past week Tama Tonga. He keeps kind of tricking Taichi of what's. He brings out several bags, and there's like a rubber chicken, stuffed elephant, and all this like random. There was a toilet paper that had a drawing of the claw on it,
and it said Baka.
Yeah,
which is like, I don't know, like shithead or something like that. Like, remember when Jericho called Tanahashi Bakahashi?
Yeah. So Tama Tonga.
It might be like dumbass. I don't know.
It's something like that. I know it's some kind of insult. So Tama Tonga, totally just been taunting Taichi and just super goofy and just having a ball of just hiding the Iron Fingers from Taichi.
Yes, that's correct.
So then in the semi-main, we had Bushi and Naito defeating Master Wato and Hanuma. And in this match, Naito was making fun of the fact that Tenzan, who was accompanying Wato and Hanuma, couldn't do the Mongolian chops, so he was doing the chops throughout the match and taunting the motions. Yeah, and Tenzan was in one of those produce shows this past week for the Baba Memorial, and in the tag match, he couldn't do the Mongolian chop, even though it's a completely different kayfabe and different promotion. He still honored the stipulations and did not throw Mongolian chops. Living the gimmick. Honorable man. Yeah. Then the main event here, we had a 30-minute time limit draw between Kota, Bushi, and Sho taking on Hiromu and Sonata. Question here from Ready to the Peaky Blinder. Thoughts on time limit draws being used on Road 2 shows to hype up main event single matches? After not having one since 2018, we get 2 in 2 weeks. Personally, I have loved them, made the matches feel special, 2 great half-hour tag team action, and got me really hyped up for the Never title match a few weeks ago and the upcoming junior and heavyweight title matches. Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, here's the thing is like, it happens once and maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. But if it happens, in subsequent weeks on the same tour, kind of makes it more memorable. Stick out more in memory. So, I mean, it has that going for it. And then there's the obvious conundrum here where you've got 4 guys that are trying to push for major title matches, and who eats the pinfall? Well, you keep them all strong by doing the time limit draw. I think it was a little bit telegraphed since they just did it the other week, and it's the same booking scenario. So, I mean, some people could have seen it happening. I think I would have preferred maybe something surprising, like maybe
I don't know, Sonata beating Hiromu or something like that. Or
I mean, Sonata beating Show.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I keep getting this mixed up. Well, no, maybe like it's a tough one when I think of it that way. And I think that's kind of why they did this booking, because it's tough to figure out like who should eat the pinfall. One thing I think you could do is like Sonata beats Bushi.
Yeah.
Then it's like that's a big deal, or or even Show beating Hiromu. So I kind of think I would have liked maybe a challenger beating one of the champions to hype up the title match, but in this case they elected to go with no falls, and maybe that adds a sense of mystery even more so to the title picture. I don't know.
Right, and generally, like you mentioned here, like this, booking is not overdone in New Japan. We rarely see draws. If they're usually in big matches or to hype up big matches, and so when it's done sparingly, draws are good. And it's a weekly occurrence, and they're using it to get out of several bookings, and yeah, that's not the way to go. But they've been using it sparingly. They did use it twice here on this tour, but I think it's fine as long as we don't keep seeing it over and over again. But yeah, I like how they did these main events here.
So real quick before we move on to our preview, just to kind of recap here. So there's quite a few different things going on in the company. We talked about Tsuji, Hanuma, and Naito. We talked about Yumura and Suzuki. There is a sort of under the radar feud as well between Jado and Doki. We saw them matched up in multiple multi-man matches, and for some reason Doki really, really, really wants a singles match against Jado.
Yeah, both of them have gotten to the point where they want a singles match now.
And I think Doki wants it because he knows he's going to win. Like there's like, it's one of those things where it's like if he loses, then he has to kind of leave New Japan, because if you can't beat Jado, then it's game over for you. So
you gotta leave.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, you got to go back to the mud shows in Mexico.
Yeah. And then aside from that, obviously we've got the Despy, Kanemaru, Ishimori, ELP tag team feud, as well as the Dangerous T and GOD, which we'll talk about here in a second. One match that's not on these upcoming shows, but that's also been pushed, is the Evil Okada feud. Right. And we saw at the end of the multi-man match on yesterday's show, after everyone kind of left ringside, Evil and Okada stayed back, and Okada was trying to get some comeuppance, but Okada and Dick Togo sort of outsmarted him and then attacked him with a chair and kind of left him beat up. And then, once all that, and I think that's the second time they've done that in subsequent shows. And eventually, like, Okada got in the ring and basically said that he wanted to fight him in a singles match right now. And it looked like Evil was going to, acquiesce, and then he bailed out and left. So they're clearly, like we've been alluding to, building to a singles match between these two.
Right.
And then other than that, it's all the singles, or it's all the title matches that we're going to talk about. But there are these little individual feuds kind of going on in the company that aren't even really being highlighted on these next two New Beginning shows, which is kind of interesting. And I think it's kind of nice that they're just kind of keeping things like lively and sort of ongoing, almost like it's, for lack of a better term, like a universe that is kind of, in operation. And it's not just, robotic, title picture feuds all the time.
Right. I think it's great to kind of utilize everybody and have some feuds outside of the title pictures. And I know they have a lot of big tours coming up. There's the Castle Attack tour coming up that's going to end with 2 nights in Osaka Joe Hall. You got the anniversary show. You got New Japan Cup. So I think a lot of what we're seeing on the undercard that has not been on New Beginning is going to kind of be, they're kind of planting seeds for those tours.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about the New Beginning in Hiroshima, night 1, night 2, which by the time you're listening to this probably have already happened. And, these are our previews. Next week we'll be doing the review on those.
Right. So we have the first night, February 10th. Show's going to open up with Gabriel Kidd, Yota Tsuji, and Yumura versus Desperado, Suzuki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
Obviously, I think we're both going Suzuki-gun team here. The big story, we're seeing a continuation of, Yuya Uemura, and his wish for death at the hands of Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah. Then second match, we have the big singles match between Bushi and Master Wato.
Again, another one of those feuds. There's no title implicated here, but it's sort of a keep busy feud. One thing is Bushi has kind of made it very known that like he sort of has to beat this guy. Otherwise, he becomes a stepping stone in the division. So he's kind of trying to avoid that at all costs. Did you notice Wato got rid of the blue from his hair?
It was like a dark. It was kind of a mix of like black and blue. Like it wasn't completely washed out, but it was still kind of there.
Yeah, he's looking more like the Wato of old, which I'm kind of liking. So, he doesn't look like a Smurf as much anymore, which is a good sign. Who do you got in this Bushi Master Wato match? Because, I don't really know.
Yeah, this is hard because,
also, I don't care.
So what? I don't care. Yeah, it's hard because, there were some matches earlier on that I thought Wato should have won. And he didn't. It's so I don't know. Bushi is a kind of an established guy.
I saw Wato hit some pretty awesome spots during some of these last two shows, but then also fuck up stuff again. So I don't know.
I feel you gotta give him something here. I don't know. I'm gonna go Wato here.
I'm gonna go Wato, but there's part of me that's like Bushi. I'm gonna rock with Bushi, but I'll put my money on Wato.
So third match, we got Goto, Okada, Ishii, and Yano, and Yoshihashi against the Bullet Club team of ELP, Evil, Jay White, Taiji Shimori, and Yujiro Takahashi.
Interesting. And we saw Evil and Jay White team up again recently on the latest show. So it's kind of funny. It's sort of like that. All the heat between them from the G1 time is sort of dissipated at this point and kind of put it on the back burner, huh?
Yeah. There's been no really like hints or anything leading to any kind of beef between them.
But we are getting Goto, Ishii, and Yano. I'm sorry, Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi opposite of Jay White. And I believe when they do the 6-man tag, it's going to be him and Yujiro. Do we know who else is teaming with him or no?
No, the 6-man tag, it's him and God.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. Okay, perfect. So it's basically those three guys against Jay White in this match. That's kind of one of the stories. And then obviously Okada and Evil that we touched upon earlier. This one, I don't know. Do you have a strong leaning one way or the other? I guess I'm probably going to go Bullet Club.
I was going to go Bullet Club to give them momentum going into the next night, but I'm going to go with Chaos because Yujiro is on the Bullet Club team. And so I think pretty much.
Yeah, I am too because they got Yano, and Yano will probably hit someone in the balls like Yujiro and roll them up. So you're right.
Yano's been like pinning Yujiro this whole tour. So
yeah, I forgot about that. So that makes a lot of sense to me too.
Then after that, we'll have Kota Ibushi and Hanuma against Sonata and Naito.
Well, that's an easy pick. I'm going to go with the LIJ team there. Clearly Hanma's eating a pinfall.
Yeah, another 26-second pinfall.
Isn't it funny? Naito loses in the Dome, and then for New Beginning, they go right to a Sonata program, and Naito's cool with it. And they did this exact same thing a few years ago when he lost to Okada in the Dome. And then Sonata was the immediate challenger for Okada. Like, time is a flat circle.
It is. So now we have our semi-main event for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. We have the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga, and Tangaloa defending their titles against the Dangerous Tekkers, Taichi, and Zack Saber Jr.
I am going with God here. I think there's a good chance that we see Taichi get his fingers back, but I don't think that is going to be like a jubilant thing or anything like that. One thing I've just noticed during the post-match is all that Taichi really is focused on is getting those fingers back, and he's sort of beside himself about it. And then conversely, you've got Zack, and he's talking about saving the division, winning the titles back, setting things right, yada yada. So he's got completely different goals and determinations at this point, aside from what Tai Chi's aiming for. And I think that's going to be a big part of the story and kind of lead to the, I don't want to say official breakup, but the temporary separation of Dangerous Tekkers going forward. I think GOD's retaining these belts.
Yeah, I also think God is retaining. You made a great point with Saber and Taichi kind of having, not really being on the same page, kind of having separate focuses. Also, I think you kind of want to keep God hot right now. I know that we kind of said that the Forbidden Door stuff is really between Kenta and Moxley, but there is a lot of buzz right now around Bullet Club. We're seeing a lot of Bullet Club merch being, the top sellers on Pro Wrestling Tees and Token Shop Global. I think there's a little bit of a buzz behind Bullet Club right now, and so I think you kind of go with that and keep the belts on God for right now.
Great. So then the main event. We got a question here from Dom Homie 101. He said, "Is it me or is Taichi transforming into Takashi Iizuka right in front of our eyes?"
I mean, it could be. We're seeing he wants to, kill Tama Tonga because he stole the fingers from him. But I don't know if it's a complete, Iizuka turn, complete madman turn there.
I think they would be insane to get rid of Taichi's gimmick after it has, finally kind of taken off for him. No, I don't think so. But I do think he's obsessed with this, with these fingers for whatever reason. And I think it is funny. It kind of does remind me of Gollum and how he reacted to losing the One Ring.
Precious.
So, yeah, it's just precious, bro.
Oh my gosh. So now the main event of night one, IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, Hiromu Takahashi defends the title against Sho.
It's the big one. It's the one we've all waited for. I absolutely adored the match that they had at Best of the Super Juniors this year. One of my favorite matches of the entire tournament. This is a really tough one. Do you think that what are the chances that Sho beats Hiromu Takahashi again?
I don't know. I think it's kind of slim, and I'm mainly just thinking because of the anniversary show, and if they're going to do the typical champion versus champion main event, I think you want Hiromu in that main event. Nothing against Sho. I just think Hiromu's clear. He's a bigger star. He's a bigger draw, and it could potentially be the better matchup depending who's going to be the IWGP Heavyweight Champion coming out of night 2. So that's what I'm going.
It's true, but then at the same time, they're still running it in the building that they usually run the anniversary show in, which I think is like a 5,000 seater, and with the provided we're still in the middle of a state of emergency, they're going to be at a limited capacity. So I don't know that it really matters too much. And that's not me saying that go and run some fuck shit. But what I am saying is Sho winning the title would be an invigorating thing for his career and probably for the fan base, and might be enough of a catalyst to push for him to be in that anniversary show match, possibly. With that being said, I've learned not to bet against Hiromu Takahashi, so I'm just not going to right now. But there's a part of me that would just be fucking ecstatic if Sho beat him for the title.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know who's next after this for Hiromu. I guess probably LP. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I would be pumped if Sho won, but yeah, I just feel like, yes, the smart money is not to bet against a ticking time bomb here.
But who's next?
Who would Hiromu defend against next?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, ELP probably makes the most sense, since he feels like he kind of got cheated out of the, quick counted or whatever, out of the match at the Dome.
I wonder if they're going to do an open weight New Japan Cup again or not.
I guess it just all depends on who they can get in the country.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think Sho, we've seen him go up against heavyweights and be every bit believable based on the style of wrestling he works and his physique and everything like that. Even though he's shorter, so I could definitely picture that. I wouldn't be shocked. But I mean, that's a tall task being Hiromu.
Despy could be next. They could run back Despy versus Hiromu.
You're absolutely right. That's definitely on the table.
So moving on to night 2, which will be February 11th, Thursday. Once again, opening up with Gabriel Kidd, Tsuji, and Yamura taking on a Suzuki team. This time it'll be Doki, Taichi, and Zack Saber Jr.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a good sign for Dangerous T or not. That they're in the opener the next night against the Young Lions. That remains to be seen. Yeah. But either they're going to go in as champions and, take a easy night victory lap over these Young Lions, or they're going to be angry from having lost the night before, and they're going to, get some heat back on these guys. So I get, Suzuki-gun team's winning either way.
Right. Then in the next matchup, we have more Suzuki-gun action. Despy, Suzuki, and Kanemaru taking on ELP, Taiji, and Yujiro Takahashi.
Oh, that is a tough one. What are you thinking here?
So normally I'm inclined to go Suzuki-gun because Yujiro is on the Bullet Club team, but ELP does have, that awesome super kick, the one kick, the sudden death super kick that he can knock on Despy or Kanemaru and get the win for the team.
I've actually figured it out already. I'm definitely going Suzuki-gun. ELP has been very outspoken on commentary about the reason that they haven't been keen to reface these guys in a IWGP Junior Tag Team title match is because they've come up short in every multi-man match that they've had against them, and that they need to beat them before they can be qualified to challenge again. So I think that on a big stage like this, it makes the most sense that Suzuki-gun wins, thereby setting up a return match for the junior titles.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. Yeah, so I'll ride with you there. Go Suzuki-gun. Matchup number 3, we have Wato, Sho, Hanuma versus Bushi, Hiromu, and Naito.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I'm taking the LIJ team, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering who's gonna be holding that junior belt, come the next night.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see who's gonna be champion then. But
because I mean, it looks like based on what we've predicted. We gave Wato a win, so yeah. So who knows? I don't know. I don't know what I was trying to say there. I thought I saw something, but I didn't.
But yeah, I see Naito pinning Hanuma again.
Yeah, Hanuma fucked up. He won one over the top multi-man. This man Naito has not let up off of him for 1 second since then. He fucked up. And, this is from the guy that's Tranquilo,
Because Tranquilo is a grift.
Tranquilo's the fucking grift, bro.
Next matchup, we have Okada and Yano against Dick Togo and Evil.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think Chaos is winning because Yano's on one side and Dick Togo's on the other side.
Yeah, agree with you there. Then the semi-main event, which got changed for this show, is now the never openweight 6-man tag team title match. So Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi will be defending the titles against the Bullet Club team of Switchblade, Jay White, and Gorillas of Destiny.
Well, I mean, it creates an interesting proposition. If Bullet Club wins and our predictions were accurate, then that means GOD will be double champions for the tag team divisions, which they've already accomplished that feat in the past. So that wouldn't be the first time. I think there's probably a line of logical thinking. Some people are probably guessing that they're going to lose their titles the first night and then get these titles the next night, sort of make up for it. And then there's always the possibility that Chaos retains here, but this one's a tough one for me. I think I'm going Bullet Club team on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Bullet Club team too. I mean, this is Jay's first, real big match since he's come back from his little sabbatical. And I just don't think, even if Tama or Tangaloa, if one of them takes a pin, I still don't think Jay should lose his first big match back. I know it's not a singles match, but I think that with all the kind of hype and buzz they got with Jay disappearing and then coming back, I think, Bullet Club should get the win here.
Now, let me throw a little bit of criticism towards the booking team and towards Jay White's way. We talked over the last few weeks about all the speculation. Was Jay leaving? Was he resigning? What was going on with Jay? And all that. And I think that they did a great job with that story. I think they did a great job keeping, the suspense. And then they brought him back, and we kind of discussed the reasons they may or may not, what the timing of that was for and everything like that. But where I'm a little critical here is Jay cut this masterful promo about not doing this anymore, about this, that, and the other, and, us seeing Jamie. And then he comes back, and it's the same shit as prior. And it feels like this was kind of just a way for them to let this man get his heat back. Does that make sense? Like, he lost the big match in the Dome in a great match. He goes away, and now he's back, and he's back at square one, which if that was your aim, that's great. But I felt like they had the potential to do so much more based on the treatment this kind of angle got. And I don't know that it actually progressed the character at the end of the day much further than where it was prior to all this, to do.
Yeah. I guess the one kind of character progression I kind of just see is just Jay just being more of a team player, so to speak. I mean, obviously he's the leader of the Bullet Club, but I always kind of feel like he was kind of doing his own thing. And like now he's like teaming with GOD. They're going after like the tag titles. Never really saw him go after like Never Six Man or the heavyweight tag titles before. And so him kind of putting himself in a tag role of GOD, kind of showing that kind of Bullet Club solidarity there, I think it's a little bit of a change.
Yeah, I think that's valid. We talked about it the other week, how some of these stories are more long-term and nuanced, and maybe that was the first step of a long-term story, and we're just not getting the immediate payoff. But this felt to me like something significant should have come out of it, and maybe it still will, but right now it doesn't feel like that. To me, it actually feels like a really elaborate for them to let this man get his heat back.
Yeah. I mean,
which I get it, it's smart, but it feels like a squandered opportunity.
I mean, could you do Bullet Club losing, and then GOD is like, I think this was Jamie that was out here, and then like jump him?
I mean, I don't know if I'd go full blown into it just yet like that, if that's what they're going to do. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to them losing and then that being another part of the story,
Yeah.
But since he's come back, it hasn't felt like so far they've kind of lulled me into a sense of just thinking it was just to get his heat back. And based on the way the schedule works, I think I just feel like we're going right back into New Japan Cup pretty soon. So,
right.
And that's a big reset for the way things go in the year. So maybe Gato's playing 4D chess and I'm, playing checkers. but until I see otherwise, right now, I am assuming that this was all just an elaborate marketing scheme to get this man's heat back, and nothing else is coming of it. And I'll let myself be worked. If they want to work me and provide me something more than what they've given us, I will be all for it. But right now, I just feel like that's all it was for, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to go with Bullet Club winning new Never Six-Man Open champions.
I'm going with the Bullet Club too, but you almost talked me into thinking that maybe they lose and maybe there is a story that he doesn't have it anymore. Or maybe that is the reason they should start to reconsider who the real boss is. I mean, I heard ELP this week on commentary when Evil came up in 2-3 and he's like, oh, there's the big boss.
Yeah, I did catch that too, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different stories that can come out of here. We did have a question here from Reddit user Mr. Bang Pop. He says, I don't know if this has been asked before, but have either of you looked into the Ishii boxers you've joked about on the podcast in the past? Because they are available on the Token Shop for pre-order, folks. Have you looked into the Ishii boxers, Josh?
Oh, I have, but they're like, what, $40?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bit outside of my price range of what I would like to spend on boxers. I usually like to get my boxers in like a 6-pack, all at one time.
Right.
You know,
Save on that cost.
I actually know, huh?
Save that cost.
Yeah, I actually noticed recently. This is funny. So there's a brand of boxers that I wear. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to out myself, but it's a brand of boxers that I buy, and this particular brand of boxers, I like them a lot, but they have a particular logo on the band of, and they're boxer briefs. Let's be clear. They're like the same kind. They're like the Nike, what is it called? Like Nike Free or whatever.
Kind of like the compression style looking kind of things.
Yeah, they're like compression style. I mean, Jeremy knows I walk around in just my boxers. Probably hates it, but but yeah, they're like compression shorts or whatever. So, anyways, every couple of years they change the logo. So I'll go looking for them and I'll know that they changed the logo again. Maybe like every 6 months or every year or whatever. They kind of like change it up, and so I kind of know what the logo should look like. Well, let me just tell you, John Moxley wears the exact same brand as me, which means like this man is thrifty as fuck. He's going out there and buying these 6 and 12 packs or whatever. But like I saw him like every time I watch him wrestling, he's rocking like the logo from like 3 years ago that they don't make anymore. And I know for a fact because they don't make them anymore. Like they totally changed the logo. This man's still rocking that shit, which I don't even, as long as you're washing them, I mean, it should be fine. But like his drawers got to be old as fuck, but their quality, like as you can tell, he wrestles them. They last forever. But like I've noticed that this man wears the exact same brand of boxers as I do.
Well, hey, he's a very simple man. He likes his sex in the morning. He likes his coffee hot. I forgot what else he said in that promo, but yeah,
I think he said he liked his beer cold and his coffee hot, which I was like, isn't that? I mean, he liked his water room temperature. And I was like, isn't that everybody?
No, I think
I feel like everybody's that way.
I think some people are against the room temperature water. I think some people like.
I like
cold.
it chilled.
Yeah,
slightly chilled. I'm bougie. Like I don't want it room temperature, but I don't want it like. I want it like in the fridge for like 20 minutes. Yeah.
So let's move on to this main event here for the.
But to answer the question, I'm not getting those boxers because they're too expensive. If anyone would like to gift those boxers, well, if someone gives us those boxers, I'll do something. I don't know. I'll post thirst trap photos of myself in those boxers
on the Keepin It Strong Style Twitter.
Yeah. I'll do it up. I'll have special lighting and like a backdrop and shit. What was it? What was that called during the pandemic when everyone was doing the sex photos?
The wrestling Twitter after dark?
I'll do a wrestling Twitter after dark post.
Oh my gosh! I was gonna say you should wear them to the side dojo. That's it. Just rock the Ishii boxers.
I can't wait for the day someone shows up to wrestling school in gimmick.
Oh man.
I'm gonna get like a gold dust bodysuit.
Oh man. Gotta wear the paint and all. Get the wig.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about this main event for the IWGP Heavyweight title and IWGP Intercontinental title. Kota Bushi defends the titles against the Cold Skull Sonata.
Well, I got to tell you, I think this is going to be very good. One thing I think is absurd, though, is like it's very clear that the story they're telling throughout, and a lot of this story has been told in the ring during the preview matches. As such, it should, but like. The post-match interviews leave a lot to be desired. There hasn't been much to really sink my teeth into there, but as far as the in-ring action, I think that's been palpable. The crowds seem to be really into both of these guys, which is no shock. They're both extremely popular, especially in Tokyo. But the story here is that Sonata is every bit just as good athletically and in ring as Kota Ibushi, and they're really putting that over on the commentary too about how there's nothing this guy can't do. You know, there's no bad place you could put him. You know, he's, you know, hold for hold, move for move. You know, athleticism for athleticism, the equal to Kota Ibushi's, you know, greatness, which in a sense does make sense to me, but based on the kayfabe, it does not make sense to me at all. Like, you know, just based on accomplishments alone and what we've seen, Kota Ibushi is way beyond, say, a Sonata. And I think the biggest difference is passion and heart and fighting spirit. And even if, you know, Sonata, I mean, it is sort of like art imitating life.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Is there any doubt in my mind that he is, you know, an extremely skilled and athletic wrestler? No, none whatsoever. But is there any doubt in my mind that he could carry the company, or that he has the passion, or the what's it called when people like
Perseverance?
You know, no, charisma. That he has the charisma, the character work, the drive to carry the company. Like, yeah, I've got tons of doubts when it comes to that, and for that reason alone, I really don't see Sonata beating Kota Ibushi. In fact, I think it would be a terrible booking decision to have Sonata beat Ibushi. And I know there's a lot of people who believe in Sonata and are like, well, the company's been telling a story where, you know, it's going to be his time at some point, and maybe it will be. But my biggest criticism is every time they get him ready for a title shot, why don't they actually heat the man up? Or are they even able to? Is he able to get himself heated up enough and get himself over to the point where, you know, it would be conceivable that he would win? Because right now it doesn't feel that way at all. And it feels like he's going to get passed up by the Will Ospreays and the Shingos of the world.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Like, Sonata, I think he's a very good professional wrestler. He does have great matches, but yeah, like, I just feel like this feud just hasn't been that kind of a heated IWGP title feud. I think it'll be a great match, but yeah, they just haven't really done anything to really make you really buy in that Sonata actually has a chance of taking this thing. I mean, yeah, they did the 30-minute draw, and, you know, they've done the whole, you know, he's just as athletic as Ibushi, but give me some more to sink my teeth into.
Right. One thing that was funny, ELP on commentary, they talked about who they thought was going to win the title matches, and he was like, well, it depends on if they have new gear or not.
Right. And Sonata has the fresh dye job.
He has a fresh dye job, fresh cut, new hairstyle. He hasn't brought out the new gear, but so did Sho, which kind of tells me that I'm like, you look at Ibushi and Ibushi and Hiromu, and neither of them have done shit, and they're like, this is a new beginning. It's a B show.
Right.
Like, I just bought new gear last month for Wrestle Kingdom. I'm not doing anything else. And then, you know, you can like, when New Beginning comes around, you can tell who's gonna not win. It's the guys that go out and get the new gear. So yeah, man. I mean, now as far as you called it, you said the match is gonna be great. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed almost every single singles encounter between Ibushi and Sonata. I think they have great chemistry. I was one of the high men when it came to last year's G1 final that they had against one another. But the great match that they really had was the one from 2 years ago, the 2018 G1. That was one of the main events on like one of the best cards of that B block that they were in. And for my money, that's the best match they've ever had against one another. And I know a lot of people like the 2019 match they had as well in the G1, which I wasn't as high on, but yeah, they never go out there and miss. Regardless of what people said about the G1, they always go out there and have a great match with, you know, this much stakes involved. I think they're looking to have great performances, but I mean, at the end of the day, I've got Ibushi all day.
Yeah, I got Ibushi as well. I have a feeling that this match is going to be better received than the G1 finals, and I think this is going to end up, you know, obviously hitting people's notebooks. And I think it's going to be a very high-end match for this year. Definitely potential match of the month candidate. And so, yeah, from an in-ring standpoint, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a great match. But yeah, I think it's clear that Ibushi is going to get the win here. I'd be absolutely really shocked. I'd be floored if Sonata gets the win here.
I would be too, and I'm not opposed to Sonata getting a IWGP title run at some point. And you know, some argue maybe it should have even happened sooner, and I wouldn't argue with that. But it goes back to what I was saying, is that like if you want to put the title on him, you got to get him ready to actually carry that belt. And they've at no point in his entire time with New Japan ever heated him up to actually prepare him to hold that gold.
Right.
I mean, the closest you could maybe get is like him beating Okada in the G1. And, you know, that's a whole different proposition from beating, you know, say Okada for the title.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not the same thing at all.
We did have two questions here. First, from Reddit user PSayan91. Says, if Ibushi retains in Hiroshima, which seems most likely, who do you think his next challenger for Castle Attack will be? I think it'll be Shingo, as logically it makes sense that Shingo beat Ibushi in the G1 last year, and also in terms of storyline, Ibushi was taunting Shingo with both belts on commentary not long after Shingo lost the Never title. I feel Shingo is too good to be relegated to the Never division and should be in the IWGP title picture going forward.
I totally agree with these points. I actually read that question on Reddit from UPSan91. I think you make some excellent points there, and I can't really argue with any of them. I know Shingo is a major favorite for the New Japan Cup, but we still got Castle Attack coming up ahead of that, and that's going to probably play a huge factor into what people's predictions for the New Japan Cup even will end up being. And I think if Shingo's the guy at Castle Attack, it kind of kills the potential of him being the New Japan Cup winner. And I know a lot of people right now have him penciled in to win that tournament. I don't. And I wasn't sure why, but I think that this plays into the narrative that I've already ascribed to. So based on everything else you said with the story and the G1 win, and I picked up on that too, the fact that he was kind of mocking him a little bit. Plus, he's sort of running through LIJ right now.
Right. He beat Naito. He would have beaten Sonata. Then Shingo is the next thing that makes sense.
So that would be kind of crazy too if they decided to do that. So I think that, you know, and there's probably people again saying like, well, he just lost to Tanahashi. Well, it's like, well, it's New Japan. People fail up. It's just what they do. Like, you kind of have to just accept it.
Right. All Shingo has to do is after Ibushi beats Sonata is walk out, point those titles, and we're set for Castle Attack.
But the main reason that he has a credible challenge is because he said he can just easily say, I beat you in the G1.
Right.
Boom.
So
yeah, I like it. I think that I'm sold on it already.
Yeah, I'm all in on a Shingo IWGP title match. And the last question here from Dom Homie 101: do matches like Evil Okada, White Ishii, and Naito Hanuma take place at Castle Attack or in the first round of the New Japan Cup?
I could see those being Road to matches. Some of them, I could see some of them being on the main card. I could also see some of them being in the New Japan Cup. So I think it just depends on where they're needed. You know, I know it's not a sexy answer, but I think it depends on where Gato needs to place those matches.
Yeah, I feel like Evil Okada and White Ishii are going to be on Castle Attack just because it's another.
I agree.
It's a back-to-back 2-day show again. It's in Osaka-jo Hall. So you need big matches for 2 nights in Osaka-jo Hall. So I think those will probably be semi-main events on either night.
Yes.
So we have a few quick news items to cover real quick and some few questions and recommended match of the week, and we will get out of here. So first thing, we got to talk about the big announcement of New Japan's quote-unquote TV deal. So premiering February 11th, episodes of New Japan Pro Wrestling will air every Thursday beginning at 5 p.m. on the Roku channel, beginning with 10 special episodes that will see the US, UK, and Canadian television premiere of Wrestle Kingdom 14, which will be available on demand there afterward. Additionally, the Roku channel will host a block of library content featuring key highlights from the 2020 NJPW catalog, with potential for the introduction of more historical content in the future. So Josh, what are your thoughts on New Japan on the Roku channel?
Yeah, I think it leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know. I mean, I can't sit here and pretend to be a TV expert, to understand all the ins and outs of how that industry works. I don't know. I know it's not here in the notes, but the reports basically were that this past, before this, they decided on this, they actually had interest from ESPN, CBS, and I believe the other one was what's the channel where they do the Dark Side of the Rings?
Oh, Vice.
Vice. I think they were talking to all of them, and for a variety of different reasons, they ended up not working with those different groups. I don't know necessarily that, like, let's say if this is a success, that could parlay itself into a better television deal down the road, because we already know right now that Access TV not being on Nielsen desperately hurt their leverage and positioning in the marketplace, because had they had those numbers behind them to prove, and I'm sure some people are aware of the numbers, but I mean, based on the reports, everyone's saying that had they had those numbers, it would have actually helped them to parlay into a better TV deal, a long time ago, and it didn't. And Roku channel is not a real TV station. It's a Roku channel on the Roku TV from the Roku app. And if you don't know what Roku is, it's a streaming service device similar to Chromecast, similar to Fire Stick TV with Amazon or Apple TV. Lots of people's smart TVs come preloaded with Roku. Other people go out and buy it. I'm not entirely sure if you actually need a Roku to get Roku TV. Do you know much about that?
So I've heard some people talking about it. It sounds like you can get the Roku TV channel on other devices like Chromecast or Fire Stick, because it says I think it's like 6.5 million people have access to the Roku TV channel. So it feels like it's more than just. I think you can also watch it on your computer as well.
I mean, I don't see that myself. I'm trying to get it, and I'm trying to Google information. So looks like, okay, yeah, there is a Roku app. I'm going to download it, and maybe we can find out if I can watch some TV here without actually having the Roku streaming device.
Yeah. And one thing that was reported in the Observer is this is not an exclusive TV deal, and this does not stop them from continuing to shop to other channels to get a cable TV deal.
Right, and I didn't suppose that it did. My concern is that does it lend itself to advancing them towards getting one, or does it hurt their chances? And that I couldn't say. In my mind, I think Roku TV, and I think that most people say, what's that? And so if I'm an executive in the TV industry, I'm probably not impressed by this. Then again, like I said, I don't know that much about the TV industry, and that might not be the case at all. It might be the fact that they can say hey, we've got this app, we've got this channel, we got this kind of YouTube viewership, blah, blah, blah. We're partnering. We've got these Friday night shows. Maybe it's part of a portfolio sort of approach. So I don't know one way or the other. For the general consumer, though, I guess it's nice, but I don't see this being a game changer, because I've just, until this time, and I know this is anecdotal, but it's just me, I've never had anybody in my entire life or on social media or in any aspect of my exposure to the world be like, you should watch such and such show on Roku TV.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Honestly, I knew the rumors of this deal of potentially being on Roku, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. And so, yeah, I had no idea that there was a Roku channel. So
yeah. Wow. Okay. I have downloaded Roku, and I can watch Roku television. So it's like a free TV app, which now I did this on my smartphone. I don't know if you, like, let's say if you have Fire TV, I don't know if the Roku television app is made available to you on that sort of device,
Yeah.
or Chromecast. I don't know if you can cast. I'd have to test that out at home. But I mean, if you want to do this, it seems like you can, at least from a, smartphone or a tablet or computer, at least do it without owning Roku, which is nice, because I thought you had to own Roku, which I thought limited their marketability and accessibility. I mean, I saw this past week they were talking about how when it debuts on Thursday, it's going to be night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. It's probably going to be World Pro Wrestling Returns ported over to the US, just like it was when it was on Access TV, which is great. But that entire approach is best served on cable television. I mean, I think it is a benefit for people that don't want to pay for New Japan World or feel intimidated by it, that they can just go on Roku TV and, watch it. My whole thinking, though, is like, if someone is, willing enough to go through a niche method of watching this as Roku TV, why wouldn't they just go onto New Japan World and watch it anytime they wanted?
Right. Yeah, the cost would have to be the real big barrier stopping them.
I think that and the language barrier, although they've made a lot of strides. I mean, I signed up for this when it was like, in the first few months, and it was really, I mean, you needed a tutorial. Now you really don't. So it's pretty user-friendly or speak Japanese, but I could see how that might still be intimidating for people, not knowing what 999 yen even translates to, kind of being sketched out, putting their money into a foreign service. I could see some of those things. Or even just the interface of the app itself, which is not great. But I think that those things plus the price would be like the barrier. But I mean, I just feel like if you're going on Roku TV, you're really going out of your way pretty far. Like, how many people are on the daily watching Roku TV? I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there's a huge market for it. I know a lot of people are cutting costs and cutting the cord and, I'm sure there's probably some people watching Roku at home. It's not a bad alternative to traditional cable. I mean, you've got other services like IMDb TV and Pluto out there too. So, and Tubi. I just wonder like how effective this would actually be when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I guess we're really gonna know when, for New Japan World numbers, like if this increases subscriptions there, if we see a big increase after this starts airing.
I mean, I don't know that Access TV ever really truly translated to converting too many people, like the kinds of things that converted people were star power and big events. And I think that's always been the case. And then a general love for the product. I'm not saying that it's not unheard of. I'm sure there are people that started on Access and then ended up on New Japan World, but based on how many people were watching that show weekly versus how many people actually have subscriptions, it seems that there was a lot of people that watched that show that never came over. So I got to imagine that less people will be watching this on Roku than we're watching it on Access,
Right.
And part of one thing I'm wondering is this another folly of New Japan management and ultimately Bushi Road not understanding what the marketplace for television and distribution and ad revenue and all that really entails when it comes to America, having less experience and exposure to the entire like streaming service game,
Right.
And maybe on paper it sounds like this is a good deal because they're like, well, it's not exclusive, it's a trial, there's this many people that watch it, not realizing like this is a super niche thing, and it's ultimately not going to probably most likely produce anything for them. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it feels like for me.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a kind of a wait and see thing. Like, hopefully, with this being not exclusive, that they will be continuing to shop around and try to get on an actual cable network.
Yeah, I think the more places they have it, the better. So I'm not like totally opposed to it, but I'm not going to sit here and cap and act like this is the biggest deal in the world when it's really not.
Right. I know there's some people like, oh my gosh, New Japan's on Roku, and like freaking out.
I'm like, well, they're already on New Japan World, which like is 10 times better than what's going to be on Roku.
Right. So, yeah.
But I mean, there's some good shit on here, bro. They got The Nanny. They got Lauren Lake's Paternity Court, Leave It to Beaver, Bewitched. Ooh, you can watch Armageddon with Bruce Willis. Good shit, bro.
Sounds like a great lineup there.
Storage Wars Texas. Hell's Kitchen. I mean, bro, Married at First Sight the first year. They got some, heavy hitters. Dennis the Menace, bro.
Wow. Man.
I could just keep naming stuff all day. Like, I could just keep going, so we got to move on.
So in other news, right now you can save 10% with the KENTA versus Moxley t-shirt bundle on the Token Shop Global. 3 t-shirts. It's the KENTA Florida Bullet Club shirt, the Barbed Wire Moxley shirt, and then the KENTA versus Mox shirt. Get all 3 of those, save 10% of that on the Token Shop Global. Then this past weekend, like you mentioned, Josh, there was the Giant Baba Memorial Show, which featured several New Japan talent throughout the show. Obviously, the show is to honor Giant Baba. So there was Jinsei Shinsaki and Mitsuya Nagaya taking on Hanma's on their team, and they defeated, I'm going to be butchering these names here, Nishimura, Andy Wu, and Alejandro, 6 minutes, 25 seconds. Then there was Masafushi and Asatsushi Onita taking on, and Great Kojika taking on Kinshaka. Actually, it was an 8-man tag, man. Butchering these matches. 8-man tag. They beat Tiger Mask, Omori, Arihashi, and Kikuchi. Then the 4th match, there was Bushi from New Japan taking on Atsushi Aogi from All Japan. Won the match there with the MX. Then in semi-main, Yuji Nagata and Yuma Aoyagi. They teamed up to beat Minoru Suzuki and Hikaru Sato of All Japan. And then in the main event, Keiji Muto teamed up with Suwama of All Japan to defeat Kojima and Tenzan. Or actually, Kojima was on Muto's team and Suwama's team, and they defeated Tenzan, Kazayashi, and Kono.
Yeah, this show is actually available right now on YouTube. So I'm going to be checking it out here this coming week. But I've heard some actually pretty good things about the card and everything like that. So that's cool. One question I had, anyone that's listening, Minoru Suzuki teamed up with Hikaru Sato, which is one of his like proteges from the Pancrase days. They had a match back in December, on December 27th, in Hard Hit, which is the shoot promotion that used to be co-promoted under the DDT banner. And in 2015, they went independent. Hikaru Sato is the owner and booker of that promotion. I really need to see the Suzuki Sato Hard Hit match, this shoot fight from December 27th. We also need it for our Excursion Match of the Year awards. I cannot find out how to watch Hard Hit in any form or fashion. I've looked everywhere. If anyone has an inside knowledge on how to watch Hard fucking Hit, please let us know. Hit us up, because I want to watch it, but I don't know how to watch shoot wrestling in 2021 other than Bloodsport.
So that wraps up all the things for the news here. Few last questions here, and then we'll get to recommended match of the week. So a question from Jonathan C.T. Martin. It says, the anniversary show is coming up. In a shocking turn of events, Gato has made you the sole booker of NJPW. Ignoring the practical side of the question, what heavyweight and junior are you putting against each other in the main event?
Oh, that's a great question. So if you could put any heavyweight and any junior against each other in the anniversary show, who would you have fight?
Yep.
Damn, that's a tough question. Jeremy, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so for me, it might be cheating, but I would go with the Naito versus Hiromu match that was supposed to happen last year. That's what I would run.
That's a really good one. Yeah, and we were in the chat in the Discord, and I talked about Shingo against Hiromu, which is awesome sounding, but I feel like that is a little lazy on my part. So let's go without Hiromu. So if I had to do someone else, I'm gonna take. This is a tough one. Would it be cheating to use Really?
I mean, no, he's a junior and could potentially make it over to Japan. I mean, he was supposed to be in Super Juniors.
Okay, I'm gonna do Dragon Lee against. Fuck it. Let's go against Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Wow. I didn't know I wanted that match. I didn't even think about that the possibility of that match. Yes, give me that match. That would be awesome.
So let's do that one.
Next question here from Viking Pain. 2 questions here. He says, "Yo, I watched Super Bowl and there were maskless people cheering and shouting all over that stadium. WTF? Stay safe. Is it the Wild West down there? Seeing that really pisses me off because it just shows how selfish people can be, and that big events in the U.S. now will more than likely just be super spreader events. Makes me appreciate the Japanese fans more and how they oblige with the wearing mask and no shouting and screaming rules."
Yeah, totally agree there. I mean, I could go on all day talking about this subject. Really, literally, I could rant and rave about it. Let's just say that it's bad.
Yeah, it is the Wild West down here. I was nowhere near any Super Bowl festivities. I was here at the dojo by myself watching the game.
Yeah, we were by ourselves too. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't go anywhere the whole weekend, bro. It was Ybor. There were shootings and riots.
Dude, I saw a picture of Ybor. It was like pack to pack, shoulder to shoulder.
I've never seen it like that. Tampa was insane. And I had opportunities, a lot of pressure from people from out of town and different things like that to go to parties, go out to events, and I just had to keep telling people, like, bro, like, I don't do any of that stuff. One thing, let me throw this out there. So I know a lot of people know I'm wrestling, which actually right now I've actually taken a few weeks off due to an inner ear issue, as funny as that sounds. But like, wrestling is the one thing that I've actually done during this entire pandemic where I'm out and about. But one thing is, like, masks are completely mandatory for what we do. The other thing as well is all my teammates are getting checked literally weekly, as well as obviously Matt, wrestles for AEW. So it's like, the one thing is, like, every single person that I wrestle with, we are literally like locked down, living in a bubble so that we can wrestle, which is still in and of itself risky. But like, I don't know if anyone's wondered about that, but it's like, I don't go out to restaurants. I literally don't go anywhere, like, at all. If I do, it's like multiple masks. If I go anywhere, or it's got to be completely like outdoor with masks, like, because shit is crazy down here. I think a lot of people came here from places where it's not so bad, not knowing how bad it is. And yeah, people complained about Christmas and Thanksgiving and the family get-togethers and the spread from that. And we're just now starting to see the numbers go back down to pre-holiday numbers here in like Florida. These are going to be worse numbers than before. And I mean, they want to have WrestleMania here in a few months, and all these companies, the Collective, WrestleCon, WWN, fake GCW,
Indie TV or IWTV.
IWTV, they're all trying to come here, and I'm like, bro, you guys don't get it. I understand why everyone's doing it because they need to make a living. I do get it. I do. And I think some of them are going to take safety protocols and stuff, but I don't think they understand how bad it is here. Or if they do, like, yeah, it's fucking risky as shit out here.
So his next question, he says, it seems like Uncle Dave is the only guy who's really down on Okan. I don't get it. I see the star potential like everyone else does. When I see him, are we wrong? Is Uncle Dave right? What must our boy Okan have to do to get on Uncle Dave's good side? Do 450s in matches, name a move after him, perhaps star in a cheesy YouTube show.
That's funny stuff. You know, the reality, Okan is a gimmick of a bygone era, and I think Dave just sees it as like an old school sort of thing. And, you know, I think that's the long and short of it. I think he just has to keep having good matches, you know, because, I mean, he hated Tai Chi for a long time, and now you don't really hear the Tai Chi hate as much. But I don't know if he'll ever get over with Dave. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it might take a while. Like you said, I think it's going to take a real kind of like some blowout matches, and I'm sure Okan will be in the G1. Like if Okan has a great G1, I think that would be the starting of winning Dave over.
I mean, Okan's a great wrestler though, so I mean, it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, some people just have their preferences, and so
yeah,
is what it is. Last two questions here from Dom Homie 101. It says, so young boy, any thoughts on the rumors of Floyd Mayweather fighting 50 Cent in a boxing exhibition in the near future? To me, I would rather see 50 Cent versus Ja Rule or The Game instead of Floyd Mayweather.
I mean, I've heard rumors that 50 can box. I mean, I'm not talking Floyd level, although, I mean, he's so much bigger than Floyd. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from all that. Like in a street fight, I would take 50 all day. But I don't think 50 can get down to any sort of actual weight that would be, you know, advisable to fight Floyd. I think that they've postponed the Logan Paul shit because of low interest for the pay-per-view. Although I don't know if that's totally true. I think it's it's stupid of them because normally most people buy pay-per-views the day of, but they gave the pay-per-view, they were giving the pay-per-view away at a significantly reduced rate for pre-orders, and they didn't get a lot of pre-orders, but it's like no one pre-orders pay-per-views, you know?
Right.
So I think they were kind of judging it on the wrong thing, but I don't really want to see Logan Paul fight Floyd anyways. And I don't really want to see Floyd fight 50 either. I could care less. I do know Manny Pacquiao's team made a formal offer for a real fight against Floyd again recently, like a week or two ago. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be opposed to that personally.
Gotcha. He also asked, can the young boy explain the story behind Leon Spinks and FMW? R.I.P. Leon Spinks.
You know, not really. I know about it. I remember recently I was doing this project where I was looking at cage matches, and I saw that Onita and Leon Spinks had a like exploding cage death match or some shit. Here's what I do know. Leon Spinks had a big match against Inoki, one of those different style fights. I don't think I've seen that fight personally, but you know, there was a market after the whole Inoki legacy for boxers to come in and wrestle in different promotions. UWF and UWFI had like Roberto Duran and Trevor Burbick, stuff like that. And then, you know, FMW had Leon Spinks, and Leon Spinks was sort of like a semi-regular. I mean, he's got a cage match profile if I recall. I haven't looked, but I think it's out there. So I don't really know the deal. I mean, I just think he parlayed his fame and infamy and, you know, the Inoki match into a role with Onita, who was a spectacle showcase sort of wrestling promoter, and they did business, and I think they did pretty well. several times. I haven't seen any of those matches though, personally.
Gotcha. So,
Actually, I'm pulling up his cage match. So yeah, he's got 32 matches. First one was in '86 against Inoki. He also wrestled Jerry Lawler in 1990 for USWA, which is funny. And then he spent the rest of his wrestling career from 91 to 93. He had 30 matches with FMW. Yeah. He was even their WWA martial arts heavyweight title, which I know you hear the word martial arts and you think it's an actual martial arts title. This was FMW, which fashioned themselves as a shoot style promotion initially, but it never really turned out to be one. So that was like their world title. So I think he was like the world champion.
wow.
And then he lost that title to Onita in a cage match in 1992. So yeah. Leon Spinks, world champion in boxing and in wrestling.
Well, last thing here, we have the recommended match of the week. So last week, I recommended the CMLL World Lightweight Championship match between Dragon Lee and Kamatachi from the 2016 Fantasticomania. What do you think about rewatching this match?
You know what's funny? Our tastes change as time goes on. Sometimes you watch something you liked before and it doesn't hold up. Other times you'll see something you didn't like, and then you'll kind of come around on it. And I got a inclination that if I went back and rewatched the Dragon Lee Kamatachi series, the original matches from CMLL, I might be higher on them than I was back in 2015, 2016, I think they even started in 14 if I recall. But I always felt like this was the pinnacle of the feud. At least up until the feud carried over to New Japan. And not only did this match hold up, but it exceeded what I remembered about it. I really, 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 really liked this match a lot. I think it was, in many ways, just like I said, the culmination. Like, if you don't have to be familiar with the backstories to enjoy this match, but if you are, you get a little bit more out of it. And I'd like to kind of go back and rewatch the series. Most of their matches were like under 15 minutes initially.
Yeah, a lot of them were lightning matches.
Yeah, I think it was a while before they started doing the 2 out of 3 falls. So, but this match, man, was just one thing that really sets their feud apart from a lot of the other kinds of matches I see from Lucha Libre that are, comparable in skill, is just the sheer amount of punishment that these guys put their bodies through, which is like, it's on another level. And then the hard hitting striking that they do, which is it's not unheard of in Lucha Libre, but they really, really this is Lucha Rezu, essentially,
right?
And, man, I love this match. And there's so many memorable spots and dives, and the selling is great. And that's the thing. It's not just really fast-paced, action-packed stuff, but, they're selling a lot and really putting over the anguish of what they're doing. And, Kamatachi had lost his hair, lost his mask, lost the title. He was kind of coming back to Japan as a success as a character, but as a failure in terms of his actual accolades. And him coming back after excursion for the first time in a major match like this and vanquishing his foe with one of the craziest Canadian Destroyer spots you'll ever see, especially given the fact that I'd never seen anyone counter a Canadian Destroyer like this up to that point. I'm sure maybe other people had done it, but this was the first time I saw it. It was really, really, really just an incredible finish to a really excellent match. And I'm super high on it. I'm higher than I was before even.
Yeah, this was my first time watching the match. Thought it was absolutely incredible. These guys were just amazing. And I was cage matching, looking up the rivalry, how many matches they had in CMLL. I would like to go back and watch the whole series. But yeah, this match was incredible. I watched it with English commentary. I didn't realize that Kevin Kelly and Don Callis did commentary for this back then.
Yes.
And so that was hilarious, just hearing like Don Callis like call Lucha Libre. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, awesome matchup. Yeah, like you mentioned, so many great moves and storytelling and them working the legs, working in submissions and stuff like that. Yeah, really great matchup.
Yeah, it's a really complete wrestling match. I'm probably like 4 3/4 on that.
Yeah, I'm in that range.
So let's do my recommended match of the week. I had one in mind. For some reason, I just don't feel confident about it like I normally do. So I just figured we'd change it up. Jeremy, give me a year, any year, 1972 to 2020.
99.
Oh. Okay. I've got one in mind, but that's a tough year. Oh, man. God, you threw out a really, really hard year.
All right, let's go 95.
Okay, that's gonna be a lot easier. All right. From 1995. Okay, I am going. You know what? I'm sorry. I'll just do the 96 one like I was going to do. Fuck it. Oh, I apologize. It's 94. This is great audio. My recommendation for the week is Jushin Thunder Liger versus the Great Sasuke from July 8th, 1994. This is the rematch to the critically acclaimed match they had during the Super J Cup in 1994. And Dave Meltzer gave it 5 stars, so it's a really good one.
Nice. Awesome. Always great to have some 5-star Liger matches to watch. So looking forward to checking that out. And that's going to wrap things up for this.
That's it. That's the show.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Next week, we'll be back to review the new Beginning in Hiroshima. And I'm sure we'll have some more Forbidden Door talk based off of the Kenta and Kenny match against Archer and Mox this week on Dynamite. So we'll talk about all that, all this news right here on Keeping It Strong Style on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. The show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/social suplex. In the Wrestling Squared Circle, we are facebook.com/group/wrestling squared circle. On Instagram, we are at social suplex. On Reddit, I am the pro black guy, just keeping it strong style. Email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. You can join our Discord server. The link for that will be in the description of the show. Make sure you check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rachel Latta and James Boyd, the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland, Grave Consequences with Caleb and Maserati, 8-Bit Suplex with Josh, Number 2, and Sandy, All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, and Great Match Generator with Danny. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Golden Star.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.